Directing traffic, gonna go deep, has a man deep, it is caught for the touchdown, Corey Davis!
If he has good technique, he will be elite. If his technique becomes great, not just good, then he's a Hall of Famer.
Drive face, full cell vertical, get into the blind spot, and he absolutely burns it. Corner is lost. He literally has no idea where Wilson is.
Really high floor, really high ceiling. You could be talking about the best corner in the league. Sauce can do that.
This is actual film. This is actual football talk. It's a football show. We're supposed to talk football, not storylines.
And you are watching another edition of Blewett Blitz Live with my co-host, Kyle Smith, who is now in charge of the Super Chats. So if yours gets skipped or not talked about immediately, blame Kyle. But Kyle, what's up, man?
The Super Chats, they're safe now. I'm doing pretty good, Joseph. How are you doing?
Doing well, man. And I'm happy that you're in charge of them because I always got them a little bit late. But it's good. You know, obviously exciting that the bye week is over. A couple of more days until football holiday season coming up. Devils are going for 11 straight wins tonight, which they're, I think, the second best team in the NHL based on points right now. So very, very happy about that. Got a ton of work done during the bye week. I already have 9 games done of Sauce for his review. Got 9 games done of Garrett Wilson and almost about 6 games through for Quinn Williams. So those reviews will be coming to you for our right after the season. I'm gonna try to get the main guys done. You know, those guys, Reed, AVT, Brees, Michael Carter II, because Kyle, I don't know if you thought about this, but I think we talked about it in the past, or at least maybe last stream. This offseason is going to be very fucking boring for the Jets. So we're going to have to fill some time because I'm not doing 30, 40 draft prospects to see who the drafts are who the Jets are drafting at pick 32. So we're going to have to do more Jets player reviews this year.
I guess it would depend on how you define boring, because if you have an offseason where you're actually expecting to make the playoffs the following year and thinking like you actually have a shot to like go on a run and potentially, you know, be a Super Bowl contender, is that boring? You know, you could talk a lot more shit to other fan bases and stuff. So, you know, is that boring? Well, yes, it's boring in the sense that, oh, wow, what are we going to use all this money on? And what are we going to use all these picks on? In that sense, it's boring for sure.
There's been much less to talk about, so we're going to have to go through some of the some of the players and talk about that, which is fun. It's fun to go back and really watch these guys because, you know, like when you're watching the games, like a player or two can slip by of Sauce Gardner where you're not necessarily watching for directly him on every play because you're not watching the play 11 times necessarily. Like you're going through for some of the highlights, but some stuff can slip through the cracks. So to really pay attention to these guys was really interesting. I could say, you know, I'm just as impressed with Sauce. There's, again, sometimes he'll get beat deep a little bit, but Garrett Wilson, dude, like Marlon Humphrey does not want to see him in the wild card game. I'm telling you right now, he cooked him multiple times in that game. That was fun to watch. And then Q is dominant. But nonetheless, let's say hello to some people in the chat as long as I'm not forgetting anything. Obviously, first place in the AFC East on the line. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills losing. Which, did you watch that game with Gary by any chance? Were you at?
You asked me that last week, or somebody in the chat asked me that last week, and I got the chance to discuss it. I actually didn't get it. I didn't watch it with him. I just wanted to watch it at home after.
No. I'm saying the Vikings game, the Bills Vikings game.
Oh, that game.
Yeah.
No, I did not watch that one with him either. But he must have been, I assume, just as mad, if not even more mad. So, you know, because you might think in your head like, okay, Bills. Anyway, but yeah, I haven't even spoken to him since then. So, but you know, I'm sure that he's still pretty confident in his Bills, though. So, and if I was a Bills fan, I'd be pretty confident in them too. But man, what a way to lose! And what a game, man! What a game!
That one throw, I don't know which one it was, but like Kirk Cousins balls out on some 1 o'clock games. Like I don't know exactly what happened, but he had pressure off the left side. And he like threw the ball while ducking away from pressure and just hit a guy perfectly on the sideline. I'm like, God damn! Like he even finished his throwing motion. It was impressive.
Yeah, Kirk can play, man, dude. And just a couple of weeks ago, man. You know, I was saying that, you know, Kirk Cousins, you know, he's well above an above average quarterback. You know, he's like, you know, like top 12 pretty much year in, year out. And I said that he's, you know, Flacco, even in his best years, has never been as good as Kirk Cousins was. And some people thought I was crazy for saying that.
Yeah, no, and the people like shit on him like, oh, you know, Kirk Cousins is, we wouldn't want Kirk Cousins. Like, what are you talking about? Kirk Cousins, maybe not on prime time or in the playoffs, but nonetheless, another quick question of the Bills Vikings game: better catch, OBJ or Justin Jefferson? Because I have my thoughts.
Justin Jefferson, I think. Yeah, that catch
Really?
was insane. I mean, like from an athletic standpoint, I just feel like the way that he, the moment, first of all, the moment was on the road going against a good defense.
Yeah.
The moment that he caught it, it was like, what was it? The down and distance was like fourth. It was like fourth and forever, right?
Fourth and 16 or something like that. Yeah.
Fourth and 16,
Yeah.
fourth and 18, something like that.
Yeah.
The area that he caught it in the field. I mean, like, I understand that Odell Beckham, like, he was getting, it was a huge defensive pass interference and he still managed to catch it and it was a touchdown. But I still think that overall, the moment, where it was, you're on the road. I think that the Justin Jefferson catch is a little bit more difficult. It might not look as pretty, but I think that one was better.
Yeah, so I agree with you for the moment. I still think that Odell Beckham's catch was better, like in terms of like the talent, because he caught it with 3 fingers, where Justin Jefferson, like it was an amazing play, but I think the defender helped him secure that ball a little bit. Right, he kind of caught it for him, and then Jefferson ripped it away. So it's more like, holy shit, like he ripped it away from him. But in terms of like just the talent of the actual catch, I think it still is. I still think Odell is the king of the last decade of catches, minus one of Keelan Cole had a couple of catches that were crazy in Jacksonville. That. But Chris,
remember he had that monster catch last year, and he said something like, that I wouldn't even put that in like my top 10 catches. He said something.
Yeah, like no, he's I don't know if he's on the team right now, but nonetheless, Chris Merkovich. We ain't talking about fucking video games on this podcast, which for the background, me and Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7 got into a good 20-minute discussion or so on his podcast about
what video games are you talking about?
Oh, see, here we go, Chris, about like N64 and GoldenEye and all that stuff.
I was
Vice
really
City,
good at GoldenEye. Vice,
which by the way,
that's on N64.
But we were talking about Vice City, and I told him like I had the Vice City Venice shirt, so I actually saw it in my in my drawer. So I gotta wear it just in case, just in case it comes up. So nice little Venice Vice City. Verge Tibbs, let's go smash the Pats. I think Zach starts breaking out from here on out. Is that the profile picture? I think that's the guy from who's always on Joe Rogan, the comic. I just don't know his name. But I'm pretty sure that's him. Maybe it's Verge. You never know. But yeah, let's smash the Pats. I would really enjoy the fact that we beat them, Kyle, and we'll talk about it later. But can we really lose 7 straight years to the Pats? 7 years.
7 sweeps in a row. And 2 of them being led by Mac Jones.
2 of them being led by Mac Jones. We haven't beat them in Foxborough since 2010, the playoff game. We haven't beat them since 2015 at home. And then before that, in the regular season, I think it's been, Brett Favre, 2008, I think we beat them. So it's been 7 years.
Sanchez got them each of his first 2 years in the regular season.
Yeah, but still, 7 years at this point is absurdly ridiculous. So let's end that shit. I can't take Pats fans talking shit like the Jets don't mean anything. The fact that obviously we're 6-3, they're 5-4. The fact that obviously it's huge for playoffs, right? Like we'll go through the Pats schedule a little bit later. We're gonna talk about the Jets schedule predictions, some other teams' schedule predictions, but the Pats have a hard schedule. But at the end of the day, we're fighting teams like the Bengals, like the Ravens, like the Pats for wildcard seeding, and you don't want to lose to all 3 of those teams. So this game is massive for playoffs because I think the Jets, realistically, I think both of I don't want to speak for you, Kyle. Tell me if I am, but I think we both expect the Jets to get to 10 wins and are hoping for 11. You take this Pats game, you beat the Bears, you beat the Lions, you beat the Jaguars. If you're fighting for the playoffs, there's no reason that you should lose those games. And then steal one from Minnesota, steal one from Seahawks, steal one from the Dolphins or the Bills on the road, So, but you lose this game, then it becomes, okay, we'll take those 3 home games against the Bears, Lions, Jags, and you have to steal one against the Seahawks or the Vikings to even get to 10 wins. And 10 wins might not get you in, which is ridiculous if it happens to us again. But this is a huge game.
Yeah, geez. If we had another 10-win year, granted, I know there would be an extra loss. We were 10-6 the last time we made the playoffs. But if we had another 10-win year and missed the playoffs with the extra wild card spot, that would really hurt. But we did get a super chat from our boy Jan said, "What's up, boys? $20. Thank you so much. So generous."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jan, I don't know if you're going to the Bears, the Jags, or the Lions game, but I'll be there. That's a beer or two on me, and obviously you're always generous. Did Jan shotgun last time? I don't know if he did, but I gotta get Jan.
I don't think you guys did.
I feel like he'd embarrass people because he's like 6'8", 300 pounds, so he'll just take one gulp and it'll be done. I feel like Jan's that type of dude.
But does weight always translate? I mean, like your buddy Tom, he's kind of a smaller guy, but he can still pound him down, can he?
Yeah, but I think it doesn't have to do with the size of your throat. Like I don't know, size has something to do with it. I would think. I don't know. Jan, you got a good throat over there, buddy. All right. Continuing on, Jan, we appreciate the super chat as always. Caden, let's go, baby. Hype for Sunday. I think I already highlighted that one. I don't know, but nonetheless, yes, we're very hyped. Quinnen is going to feed Mac Jones full plates of grass all Sunday morning. Let's hope her's hungry. Yeah. Now obviously they have David Andrews back in this game, so they'll be a little bit more stout in the middle of their offensive line. But the Jets defensive front, I think there's a stat that came out today. Like they're obviously one of the lower teams in terms of blitz percentage, and they're getting pressure at like a top 5 to 10 rate. So it's obviously ridiculous numbers. So you have good coverage in the back end. I'm not nervous about Jacoby Myers or any one of these scrubs.
Oh no.
So we should be able to get there. The thing is, listen, it's the Pats, and again we'll talk about it, but we're kind of already getting into it. Like they're going to attack the linebacker level. Like they really flooded. Kyle, I don't know if you're hearing that, but I'm getting almost like a feedback. I don't know if it's from your mic.
It's probably my headphones are probably too loud. I'll lower my volume, and that should.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of a feedback. It's like a high pitched sound. Yeah, I'm not hearing it now. Good. Maybe I just heard it again.
You still hear it?
It almost sounds like somebody's swinging on a swing in the background. It's
okay. I'll take care of that. Give me a moment.
Yeah.
Continue on though.
But nonetheless, yeah, they really did a good job of like flooding the middle of the field and making the linebackers make tackles in space. And while they're good at tackling in space, just in terms of like their athleticism, Quan, Quincy, Mosley has obviously lost a little bit of a step, but nonetheless, while they're good at moving laterally, they might not have the best recognition at times. So that's why you saw Ramondre Stevenson and some of these running backs get a few yards pretty consistently after the catch, because I think Ramondre Stevenson had like 6 rushes for 6 catches for like 70 yards. So they have to be wary of him coming out of the backfield, wary of the Pats flood in the middle of the field for the tight ends for yak opportunities. Because past that, I'm not really nervous about their receivers. So let's hope that they could do a better job in terms of covering the short part of the field. Kyle was talking about like the yak that they allowed to Ramondre Stevenson. Some of these guys, they need to cover that up. Maybe I don't know necessarily how they combat that. I'd have to go back and watch exactly how the Pats did it, because obviously it's already been a couple of games. But that's how they're going to beat them. Nickel and dime them down the field, make the linebackers have quick recognition and make tackles in the open field. But if you could limit that tackle, rally and tackle, they'll be fine. Like listen, at the end of the day, the Jets should have beat him even with that game plan last time. And you had Ramondre Stevenson who broke a bunch of tackles. So tackle better, and you should just be better in general. This game. So.
Yeah, so a lot of it was just bad tackling, but definitely in terms of scheme, the Patriots did dial up a great play on one of those big third down conversions. Again, I don't even know how exactly you would basically define this kind of like passing concept, but it was almost like a design screen where the player's basically running a drag route, but then he's got some of his linemen going out to block for him. And that was like on a third and forever. And they managed to convert on that play.
Yeah, and it was like 2 receivers from the opposite side, like climbed up and blocked, and it was all on Mosley. And I think that's the play that Mosley hesitated to the inside, and then he ran around the 2 blockers to the outside. So Mosley had to be a little bit quicker with the trigger on that one. I remember being a little bit frustrated with Mosley in the Pats game.
You were very frustrated with Mosley in the Pats game. Just watch anybody who goes and watches Joe's review, you will see his frustration with Mosley. I think he tried to be very polite to him and stuff, but yeah.
John Hassel, what's up, man? Nixon Tiger, what's good, fellas? Happy Pats week. Let's go need this win and be top of the AFC East. That, and for a while, like if it's not top of the AFC East, it's like I don't want to be 4th in the division, and then past that again, we talk about the schedule, but like we really need this win. Walking into the Bears game at 6-4 versus 7-3, like 7-3 walking into that Bears game, like we're assuming 8-3, then we're playing with a little bit of house money there if we win this Pats game. Not saying they can't make the playoffs if you don't win this Pats game. Again, you win those 3 at home. You hopefully steal one against the Vikings or the Seahawks. Okay, you probably get 10. You probably get 10 wins. But if they win this Pats game, I'm expecting more of 11 wins. So again, first place in the AFC East to 4th, and you're losing a lot of games to wildcard teams, and it's not necessarily the best for getting into the playoffs. So Paul Green Eston Jr. from Twitter, and he has his own YouTube live streams and shows. I believe he does radio. Is it Syracuse, Paul? Don't kill me if I'm wrong there, but I believe it's in Syracuse. Try to link up with him a little while ago, and our schedules are just completely polar opposite, but hopefully we'll link up soon. Paul does good work over there. So what's up? Joe Goatee and Kyle Beard Game. I'm not on Kyle's level at all with the beard game. I can't really grow this much on the side, but
yeah, you could. Yes, you could. Trust me. You just would have to let it grow. If I kept my beard like really short length, you wouldn't even see it because I have like lighter facial hair, especially. I mean, it looks darker now because it's like grown out, but I just started letting it grow. I actually have some patches too, but once it gets longer, it kind of fills in. Yeah,
covers it up. Yeah, we'll see with that in the future. I was happy eventually when I could connect. Like when it connected, I was like, oh shit, we're getting real here. And then you'll get the Fu Manchu before the season's over. Because I have to shave in January. Like the last week, I shave all this, and you just have a long. You just come down like here. So that'll make an appearance on the live stream. Jets number 31 pick, number 32 pick. Dolphins lost their pick because they cheated. Oh, so it is only 31 picks in this year's draft. So the Jets will be picking 31. Thank you for correcting me that. I did not realize that. Jay Smith, I think the bye week came at a perfect time. Big emotional win in a week to take it in, calm down. Let's go get another win this Sunday. Quickly, Kyle, with that, are you a little bit nervous about the Jets coming out flat from the bye week? We know Jets team was passed, whether it be even good Jets teams of
they always did under Rex Ryan.
Always sucked after the bye week. Who do we play? What was our? We sucked all last year.
I am trying to think of what was. I'm almost positive we lost after the bye last year. I think it was after the Falcons game. It was after the Falcons game.
Was it?
Yeah, we had the bye because most teams will take the bye after the London trip.
Not the Packers.
I know this year. Yeah, exactly. They had the option to, but they're like, oh, we'll take the Jets after. But yeah, so who did we play right after the Falcons game last year?
Right after the Falcons game, it was the Pats, and we lost 54-13.
So yeah, they definitely came out flat, to say the least.
Okay, so do you worry about them come out flat this time?
I do, because they haven't proven it yet under this coaching staff. There is something like, Andy Reid has always been really good off of buys. I mean, Belichick, has to. And there's some coaches that are really good off the bye, but we haven't seen it yet from this staff. The Jets as a team, I almost find it hard to believe like traditions of certain team in history. Is this team cursed or whatever? I almost think okay, the Jets were really bad post bye under Rex Ryan. Well, how should that affect? And they weren't even good post bye under Todd Bowles too. How should that affect this current regime? I don't really think it should, but this team hasn't proven it yet. Buys are definitely good, and you have that extra week to prepare for your opponent. You have that extra week to get healthy. So they should be good off the bye. Just look at the statistics. Throughout NFL history, and I'm pretty sure teams coming off buys, they typically have a higher win percentage than otherwise. But I am a little bit concerned because what we saw off the bye last year, obviously not good. And, it still is a young team. I don't venture to think that a lot of these players were straight up bullshitting and going out and getting drunk and stuff and not preparing at all during their bye weeks. We know like Zach Wilson said, hey, listen, I'm going to spend time with family, but I'm also going to be watching film and getting some throwing in. Okay, that's great. But what about a bunch of the other young players? How do they, treat their bye? I don't know. So I'm a little bit concerned about that.
Rucker and Reed got engaged. That's about all I know.
The both of them?
Oh, wow. Those guys. Yeah.
The way you said that made it seem like they got engaged together to one another.
Hey, I don't judge. It's 2022. But nonetheless, I'm not too worried about them coming out flat. You hear DJ Reed talking about the game, referencing the game, they're excited. Sauce talking about it, Wilson talking about it. So they should come out fired up. You're a little bit worried about Bill Belichick having 2 weeks to plan for your team, and got a comment that the Pats are good after the bye, but I'm pretty sure they're 0-2 the last 2 years after the bye. Last year, I think they lost to the Colts.
I saw Nanny put out that stat.
Yeah, so it's not like they were good at every week when they had Tom Brady. So it's not just after the bye. They shit on everybody. So they listen. at the end of the day, I'm nervous. I have that feeling like, oh my God, like what if the Jets lose? Like you get, it's the Pats, it's after the bye, like we're waiting for the floor to fall out from underneath of us. But at the same time, this is obviously a different team, and at the end of the day, Kyle, they're the more talented team. Like they should win this game. So it's going to say a lot about who the Jets are. This is a game they're hyped up for, and they should be treating it like, I don't know if I can actually say this, but like a playoff game. Like this is going to be a playoff game type of atmosphere with the rivalry, playing for first place in the AFC East or last. Like the Jets should throw out all the stops of the Pats. So let's see what they got. I really can't. I can't see the L.
So I saw Connor
Steven?
Hughes had some like viral tweet about a week or two ago. It probably was after the Jets beat the Bills, and he said something like, "Oh, for Coach of the Year, it's a 2-man race, and it's not even close who's third, and it's between Brian Flores and Robert Saleh." Now, he's probably part of him, sending out that tweet is the fact that he covers both teams.
Yeah.
But listen, if Saleh gets swept by Belichick and you lose post bye, I mean, like, there's a decent chance that you're not even in consideration for Coach of the Year anymore. So like, this is going to say a lot about him as a coach.
Sirianni's in there. Like there's some dude. Of course, like I was being safe with the bye week. Like I'm just gonna throw like whatever. I threw a decent amount of money on like a 3-team parlay. Eagles were the last team in my parlay, and of course they lose. Like what a joke! Every time I bet on the other
Eagles,
two teams. It was the Chiefs against the Jags, and I forget. It was another pretty. Giants versus Texans. Which is a little bit risky, the Giants. I don't trust the Giants. I don't think they're as good as the record says there is. But nonetheless, Joe transformation almost there. Yeah, no. Let's see, 4th and 18 for the Jefferson catch.
Yeah.
OBJ was more tough of a catch. Shane Gills. Yes, that's him. He does like Sober October and Protect the Parks, right? For the Joe Rogan listeners out there. Joe Nelson, this might be one of the most important games of the year. I think every game is important now because we're actually fighting for playoff seeding. But I think to this point, this is the most important game we've had since the 2015 game against, obviously, the Bills was more important than the week prior to the Pats. But we haven't played a game this important with this much on the line for a long time. I think the game before, obviously the Bills game, we could say that. The Pats game before the Bills game felt like that because it felt like we were going to lose to the Bills. So you want to be able to buy at 6-3. Obviously, we came to the bye a little bit different, 6-3 than we thought we'd come into the bye. Again, win versus the Pats, lose against the Bills. We lost against the Pats, beat the Bills. But this is huge. It's huge for playoffs. So I would say this is the biggest game since week 17, 2015, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, the spot is back. I don't know what happened. If you could see, I don't know what went on, but it disappeared and now it's back. So I don't know how to get rid of it.
That is strange, and nobody seems to have a good answer as to what it is.
It was gone. I went into Ryan's show, and then
if it was actually a scratch, it would have been there last week. But
I think it's Verge who yells at me and says it's the light. But how do I fix the light? I don't get how to do that.
I don't think it's the light.
If Jets win, Patriots won't make the playoffs. They have a brutal schedule. Yeah, I agree. It's Joe.
So why is the Patriots remaining schedule? I haven't looked at the remaining schedule yet. Why?
Okay, we'll go through it. They have the Bills twice. They have the Dolphins still. They have the Vikings. It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. But this gives them the chance. I'll see you at all the games. I did not shotgun because I suck at it. Oh, come on, Jan. You can't be. You trust me. I've seen some bad people shotgun. You'll be okay. We'll train you. Joe Nelson. So I'm getting my first Jets jersey for the Vikes game. What do you think about when getting a jersey? I'm between Q and Sauce. Listen,
I would say go with Sauce just because for sure he's under contract for the next several years, whereas Q, you don't have that certainty. I mean, it's conceivably possible that the Jets can say, Q, we love you. We want to give you X amount. And Q says, actually, I think I'm worth X amount. And the Jets say, we're really not willing to pay that much. And stranger things have happened. He could get traded. Yeah. I would say and Sauce is also younger too. So the longevity factor, I would say just to be a little bit safer, go with Sauce.
Yeah, I'm like 99% confident Q will be here for quite a few years. But
yeah, me too.
I also think it's just like sexier to have but if you get a Sauce jersey, it better not say Gardner on the back. That's my thing. If you're getting a Sauce jersey, spend the extra $50, get it, get the whatever it's called and get the Sauce. So Jets lose, no chance at playoffs. I disagree. Again, I think they can win 4 games after this still. It'll be much harder. It'll be much harder for sure. So Patriots' biggest weapon is the zebras on the sideline from Scott Wilson. Not true. Tunes in, here's Golden Knight talking throat size inquiries. Check y'all next week. Let's see. Jacoby's underrated. Pat sucked. Z Sizzle, Yo Joe. I don't know who Z Sizzle is.
Jacoby's a solid player. Like, okay, so like he used to be a quarterback, so you could throw some gadget plays with him. You know, he's decently fine after the catch. He's a really good blocker. But I mean, you're not scared that this guy's going to cook you up and down the field. I mean, like, come on, like he's a limited athlete. I mean, in terms of like, you know, his ability to separate and crisp route running and stuff, and his ability to high point the football. But he's solid.
I'm not worried about him when we're saucing. Listen, and at the end of the day, if they're going to illegally block our receivers downfield, then yeah, sure, he'll get another touchdown. But past that, I don't really see him doing too much on the Jets. This is a good question. If you could grab a Jets jersey, someone that isn't in a top 5 or 10 player on the team, who would you go with? I'm kind of feeling a Jermaine one. Now, not a top 10 player on the team. Who are you grabbing a jersey of?
I might have to think about this one a little bit more, but I personally would not go with Jermaine just because I'm not at all sold that he's going to figure it all out from the pass rushing standpoint. And I was not one of his biggest cheerleaders. I was one of his bigger detractors. So it just wouldn't be a part of the brand. Why don't you answer it while I think more about it and look through the roster real quick?
Trying to think. I think, okay, so offensively, I'm leaning towards Conklin. But I don't know how long he's going to be here, so that's always that's risky. Defensively, maybe or like Conklin might record the second, but again, you know, he's a running back, so how long is he really here?
But Conklin's definitely a top back here. Conklin's definitely a top 10 though. He said 5 or 10.
Yeah, he's floating there. And then past that on defense, I would say I think a really cool one would be a Michael Carter II. Like Carter II, it's a nice looking jersey.
Did you have him in your top 10? Or you have him just on the outside, right?
Yeah, just on the outside of that. So, but past that, those are the two I'd go with probably.
Carter makes sense because, you know, like, and he's definitely close to top 10 if he's not top 10. You know, he's a stud and he's young. So like that one kind of makes sense, but you know, rule of thumb, generally speaking, you shouldn't buy a jersey of somebody. Like we bought so many jerseys of players who were top 5, top 10 on this team. And they weren't with the team for the long haul. So like, I don't know.
I could clothe the homeless of New York with my jerseys.
Yeah. So it's not a good business decision to, you know, buy players outside of the top 10.
Mike says Bears worry me, maybe even listen. Yeah. Justin Fields. Okay. Past that, Mike.
It's all, but it could be the trap game too. You know, like the traditional, like, oh, you know, we think we're really good now. Here's an easy win. You know, it's natural. People sleep on other teams. It does.
I think the Jets team is young enough and hungry enough. Like they haven't been there before. Like win their games. I'm not. Listen, they can contain Lamar Jackson, and I know Justin Fields is like at a historical pace the last couple of weeks, but they should be able to beat them. Like at the end of the day, like the Lions just beat them. You know, so I'm not concerned with the Bears, the Lions, or the Jags. Like they should win those games. If they don't, then they're showing their colors a little bit. That would be really disappointing. RJ MacPot 720 hashtag fuck the mythical coin. Yeah, I'm out on that. I think we talked about that last week. Like, listen, at the end of the day, cool, but let's beat the Pats, let's beat the Bears, and if we get into the playoffs, like, yeah, at the beginning of the season, you know, if you told me AFC Championship game, awesome. But at this point, we think we're getting in. I think we have like a 72% chance via ESPN stats and info, whatever it is. I don't want to get into the playoffs to lose a championship game. Like I want to get into the playoffs to have a shot at the Super Bowl, you know? So I would not sign up for the AFC Championship game now because I'd rather take that risk and try to get to the Super Bowl because I think they're making the playoffs anyway, if I had to bet. So same with Seattle, not an easy game. That's what we kind of said, like we want to win these couple of games coming up because you're not guaranteed to win in Seattle. And, you know, Vikings are tough, but I think they could take one of those games. But I've never felt Zach was lost or confused, just as receivers were seldom in sync with him.
CD, you need to watch the tape more, man.
Yeah, there was plays where guys are wide open. He's looking at them, and then he just doesn't throw the ball. So it's not a sync thing. I would look at a play of Conklin where he's looking at Conklin wide open, double clutches, and then has to throw the ball a second later, and the defender closes the gap. It's like now the Bills game, different story. He wasn't confused. Pat's game before, he wasn't confident. He just needs to see it wide open instead of just trusting what he's seeing. You know, so he was a little bit lost. Eagle Fang, hey, Joe and Kyle, I'm back. Hope we are ready for some venge after the leak videos of Parcells, aka Team Quitter, and Belichick, aka Cheater, were bashing the Jets this week. Yeah, did you see that? I don't know what the context of that situation was, or But to me, and again, I tell me because I saw the video for like 15 seconds, guys. But it seemed like they were walking through MetLife, like they were taking a tour of MetLife or something like that. And like it seemed like a PR person like asked them if they wanted to see the Jets locker room. And then Bill Belichick and Parcells were like, "Why are we gonna go in there? Like, who? Like, let's end this on a high note. Like, we're not going to there. Why don't we go to the Jets locker room? Or why we want to go in there?" I was like,
how old is this video? When was this from?
It seems that to me, it seems that they're walking around MetLife. So maybe when MetLife opened, but I don't know the context of the video. But they were like, "Why don't we go in there? Like, what?" So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Belichick's always been known for like talking his opponents up and stuff, but one team that he's, I guess felt liberty to take shots at every now and then is the Jets.
Did you see the quote this week? Like the Jets do what
the Jets are
do. The Jets are the
yeah,
Jets.
I saw that. Yeah.
I think he's a little nervous. MB, 99, sub Joe, sub Kyle. We better see Tanzel Smart elevated. Yeah, I was hoping to see Linval Joseph. I guess Sue is out there. I know Sheldon Richardson's out there.
No, Sue just signed with the Eagles too.
No. So I was saying I was hoping to see Sue
okay.
or Joseph. They're obviously both signed with the Eagles. Past that, I would have liked to see somebody else signed. But again, is it now more JFM kicking inside and more JJ and Huff outside? That's part of how they're going to supplement. And I would guess you'd see Tanzel Smart or Marshall elevated. Do you have a preference on Smart or Marshall?
I think Smart's a better player right now, so Smart.
Yeah,
I don't doubt that Marshall has better potential, but I haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm. CD is confident that we're winning. Ed Stewart, Jets just need to go out and play like it's a playoff game. The back half of the schedule is brutal. Bears, Vikings, Lions will be games to be careful with. To be careful with every game, to be frank. But again, if you're trying to make the playoffs and you lose to, what are the Bears now? 3-8. The Lions are 3-8. The Jaguars are what 2-7-1 or some shit. Like I'm not.
Isn't it like 3-6? And they couldn't have played 11 games yet.
Talking about where Zach is ranked in the league. 22-25 by most analysts. It's we have to really go through the entire NFL. 80 plus people in here leave a like. It helps. Yeah, now we got 130. So let's drop some. I appreciate the likes and stuff. Obviously, it helps with the algorithm. Building for years to come. Starts with New England now. Go Jets. Engagement. Okay. I think Eagle's talking about their engagement. I don't think he's engaged, John. I could be wrong. Eagle, if you are engaged, congratulations. I think you're talking about them.
He was talking about the engage. He's talking about the two players that got engaged over the bye week.
Yeah. Hey, I'm of the mind that everyone desires loves your best off with a dog. I think my dog got neutered. Rough. It's rough, but he's actually dude immediately okay. Like immediately playing, eating. I was like, okay, he's fine. He's cool. Harrison, what's up? Give me better QBs than Danny Dimes. Okay, thoughts. We can hit on this too. Thoughts on the Corey Davis injury. Do you think he'll end up playing?
Doesn't sound like it.
He hasn't practiced to this point. And usually if you're going to log a do not practice on a Thursday, it's very seldom you play on a Sunday. So I think Corey comes back next week, which it sucks because, Zach kind of, and he's been spreading the ball around a little bit more the past couple of weeks. But, Corey's a favorite. Garrett's a favorite. Conklin's a favorite. So now you take away probably his most favorite receiver. And let's be completely transparent here. And we're not breaking news here, Kyle, but I'd much rather have Corey Davis play, let's say it's 40 reps over Mims playing 40 reps. Again, I like what Mims has done recently, kind of. Again, his game against the Bills wasn't the best. I think people hyped it up because of one catch. But Corey's easily the better player. Which, by the way, we're going to be getting into midseason predictions. I don't know if I already said this, but not midseason predictions, midseason awards, schedule prediction, and we'll talk about the schedules from some of the other teams that we're tight with right now, who we're watching over the weekend.
If I had to throw a fade down the sideline, I would take Denzel Mims. I don't really see Corey Davis like going up and high pointing a ball. Like even though Mims is catch didn't count, the one he had out of bounds against the Patriots, it was still like a hell of a nice effort and it looked pretty, even though it was out of bounds. But overall, yeah, Corey Davis.
We hit on this a lot last stream. I don't know if Harrison saw it, but I'm trying to go back and watch. We talked about it a lot more. We said this game is so big. What's your guys' opinion on the play calling in that Bills game? I feel like it was called great. I watched it back. LaFleur mixing quick game and it worked well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was good too. I think that's just what the doctor ordered for Zach Wilson. Get him more comfortable. be really good in that area, and then teams will adjust their game plan more, and it's going to start opening up the deeper shots too. So yeah, do more of it.
Yeah, and that's one of my biggest problems with LaFleur was not getting him in rhythm. Not a lot of RPO. In that Bills game, RPO, rhythm throws, simple concepts. Stick, spot, whatever it was, double outs, double slants. Like, it was easy stuff to read. And again, if you do that 90%, 95% of the game, and then you throw in those, 3-4 rollouts and you hit a dagger 25 yards down the field, you hit a sail concept, for 40 yards, you only need 2 or 3 of those a game, 2 or 3 deep shots, 2 or 3 first downs picked up by his legs. And then the rest of the game is that nickel and dime shit. And he's completely, like, at that point, we're fine. We have our quarterback. That's all we need is what he did against the Bills, even with his legs, the short game, and then again a couple more deep shots, and I think we have a quarterback, right? Like, we can't ask for much more. And again, you hit those deep shots, you hit that shot to Mims. Now you're talking about 200 plus yards, a touchdown or 2. Like, we don't need something crazy here. We need a super. Like, I don't know if I want to say that, but like, we need almost like a Jimmy G on steroids. Like Jimmy G mentally, with a couple of plays he can't make because he doesn't have the physical nature or the physical makeup that Zach has, right? So
yeah, and listen, if he could be, what Jimmy G is for 95% of the game, and then 5% of the game he can do some stuff that Jimmy G can't do, and hit 1 or 2 like kind of improv or outside of structure plays that just Jimmy G just doesn't have the ability to do.
Yeah.
Just a couple plays a game that makes all the difference, right? Like that can extend the drive. That could take a small play and it could make it into one of those chunk plays. I remember when the Jets hired Tony Sparano. Think about that. This is one of the reasons why Rex Ryan was a bad coach. You think, like, you need to improve your offense and you're going to go hire Tony Sparano to be your offensive coordinator? Listen, I'm not saying he's not a good leader of men or whatever, but that was not an intelligent move. But anyway, I remember Tony Sparano, like, after when the year that they hired him, the Jets severely lacked in the explosive plays department. I mean, if, like, Plaxico Burress, sure, he had 8 touchdowns or whatever, 1 4-touchdown game, but like, they never really hit big plays that year. So Tony Sparano's big thing in his introductory press conference is like, yeah, we really believe in, the splash plays, the big explosive plays. And sure enough, he barely brought any of those to the Jets, but obviously those change games. Breece Hall, he was a game changer with that, which I'm going to be talking about him a little bit later for some of our superlatives. Anyway.
Dakota says he hasn't been here a minute. Haven't been on since the summer. 1, shame on you. And has it really been that long? I feel like I've seen Dakota. Maybe not, but welcome back.
Dakota's been here before.
I thought he's been here earlier than the summer, right? He's been here since the summer. I don't know. Yeah,
he's been in here. I don't know. I want to say every week, but
Nathan Shepard thinks he's going to get the reps of, I guess, what are they called? Rankins.
Yeah, Rankins.
Will Addis? What's up, guys? Going to the game this week. Gotta have it. I was thinking about going, but the ticket prices are crazy there. Like, I didn't expect the tickets to be like I try to close out on like some like upper level like seats, and like it'll say like, oh, $250 a pop. Cool, awesome, $250 a pop after fees, $400. I was like, geez. So wow. I can't justify after going to Green Bay, after going to Italy, after going to Chicago, doing that. Like, listen, I'm saving my money for when the Jets are in the playoffs. That's what it is. Rusty, what's up? What's up, Joe, Kyle, and fellow?
Yeah, imagine they went on a run and you had to go to multiple playoff games.
Figuring it out. I'm gonna figure it out. What's up, Rusty? Busted Knuckles. If the Jet team that could beat the Bills can beat anyone, that's true. Yeah, it's there's no game I'm gonna go into this year at this point and be not nervous. That's not the wording for it. But there's no game I'm going into, even in Buffalo, where I'm saying, oh, the Jets can't win this game, right? Like, at this point, you can't say that. Let's go 8 in the box. Let's see. I'm trying to get through all the chat, get caught up, and then we can talk about the
MB99. We met him and his girlfriend week 1.
Oh yeah. He did stop by. It was very quick, very quick.
Yeah, it was. We were getting ready to. Well, yeah, I think we were getting ready to leave pretty soon to head into the stadium.
Oh, and at that point too, like, especially week 1, getting after it week 1. So But yes, 100%.
By the way, I know that Justin Fields has a lot of rushing yards over the past couple weeks. It's like 549. I was actually really kind of surprised to see that stat, and I haven't watched a ton of the Bears games. And the reason I say I was surprised is, when I was watching a lot of his tape at Ohio State, and I did watch a ton of it, I thought he was a good runner, but I didn't think he was like a great runner. Like, clearly you could see he had really good long speed and stuff. But in terms of like making cuts and things like that, I wasn't overly impressed. Like, and I kept saying, like, even though, like, Josh Allen runs like a 4.74 40 at the combine, and Justin Fields might even, crack in the 4.4s, I still felt like Josh Allen was a better runner of the football than Justin Fields. So I'm not nearly as scared of him running the football as I was.
That and their
Lamar
offensive
Jackson.
line too. Like if you're just going to be like, if you're going to be like disciplined in your rush lanes and contain him, they should be good. Like, yeah, he'll bust a 1 or 2, but it's not something that I'm like, oh my God, we're going to lose this game because of his rushing. So, what's up, Dave? Flash talking about Corey's cap hit, which I agree with. Like $10 million is great, but is he going to play in 17 games? It seems like he's like a 12 game a year type player right now. So
it's kind of always been his MO.
Yeah, Blake, are you guys going to recap the beginning of season player rankings? Yes, that's after the season. We'll talk about the top 25. We'll go back over it, and then we'll do our top 25. That's later in the year. Joe Blewett, your Devils are on a 10-game winning streak in hockey. How about that? Yeah, it's obviously great. Like hockey is my second sport now, I would say. So it's fun to see a team that dominated. Now, if they could get and they've been okay at goaltending, but if they get a goaltender, their offense and the speed they carry the puck with is ridiculous. Like, they're a fast fucking team. It's really fun to watch them. You should light teams up. So Islanders versus Devils gonna be crazy this year. Yeah, I heard NJ Devils are on fire. Yeah, they are. Let's see. Sale is a go route with a deep out and underneath, on and out. Yeah. Where the dagger is opposite in breaking route. So Sale is a vertical. It could come from different places, but pretty much it's vertical, intermediate. Usually it could be a deep cross or it could be a corner route. And then you typically have a guy breaking, or you're going to have a guy breaking to the flat, whether it's out of the backfield or a tight end. And then dagger is going to be the inside receiver running a seam route, the outside receiver running a dig behind it, and then an actual dagger concept also has another check down underneath. Usually it's a drag out from the opposite side, where if it's not if it's a dagger without the check down from the underneath, it's called the crease concept. Crease concept is just a inside seam, or if the middle of the field is open, it's a post with a dig behind it. So there you go. Talking about some concepts right there, but not gonna get that much places, which we appreciate the questions about concepts. I like that. Let's keep that up, Scott Wilson. Let's go Jets. Let's go Jets multiple times. Harrison, Zach has to trust his athleticism and take off more when his reads are not there. Yes, that's what he did against the Bills. Let's keep doing it. Let's see. MB, coaches handled the Moore situation well. Moore needs to mature, but we should remember that post-football life is scary and he has to be secure. Yeah, no, and I agree. Like, to a certain extent, you have to worry about getting like your bag for those years. Like, you want to maximize your potential capital. At the same time, is it the best to go on Twitter and say, hey, I don't want to make a scene, but here I am making a scene? Pretty much. No, it's not the best. And obviously they benched him. And then the Pats game, he saw 10 reps. In this Bills game, he saw about 40 to 50. So I'm hoping for Elijah Moore breakout. Like, I really am. At the end of the day, am I going to be rocking his jersey anymore? Probably not. Like, I'm quick to spurn people. But if he scores a touchdown for the Jets, am I going to, jump up and chest bump Kyle and miss high fives and then have to redo the high fives awkwardly? Yeah, 100% I will.
Yeah, we can totally understand why. Listen, a player of his talent should not be getting 0 targets several games across the year. I mean, it's almost ridiculous when you think about it. But what's going to be more effective towards getting what you want? You obviously want more targets so you can get the bag, but going on social media and crying like a little baby, or honestly going and sitting down with Coach Saleh in his office one-on-one, or sitting down with Coach LaFleur in his office one-on-one and saying, Coach, I'm talented. You guys drafted me 34th overall, right? A bunch of people are saying I could have been a first-round pick. I came from Ole Miss, so all these other good receivers, right? You saw me what I could do in the games that I was in last year, and we were not as good as a team last year, right? Like, Coach, don't you want me to do what's best for the team? And I can do these things every now and then, but I could do a lot more too. What about using me in this way and this way? What do you think about that, Coach? I mean, that would have gone so much better for him getting what he wanted than doing it the way that he did it.
Yeah, it's childish. It definitely was. Jace, stat predictions for Zach this week. Kyle, have any? I hate stat predictions, but do you have any thoughts off the top of your head, like what we're going to see from Zach?
I mean, I think he's
You
going to
had
throw.
to guess.
He'll probably rush for 20-something yards. He'll probably have 200-something yards passing, and I think he's going to throw 2 touchdowns.
We win. That's a W right there. 2
And
touchdowns,
I
200-something
hate to
yards.
say it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he tossed an interception as well.
I'm going to say.
Hopefully, it's not more than one though.
I'm going to say 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 197 yards, and 62 completion percentage. I think that the Pats are holding people like in the 50s, which is crazy. But short concepts, let's do it. Jets lost the Patriots game. Patriots had nothing to do with it. Yeah, minus Ramondre Stevenson and Judon. Past that, there really wasn't much that I was afraid about. So let's see. I'll take Corey. Yeah, 10 over. Y'all remember meeting me? That's sick, Kyle. Your students better be becoming Jets fans. Of course, we remember meeting you. What are we not gonna like? I'm not fucking Elton John. Like people come up, we're not gonna be like, oh, I forget that person. So that's the first famous person.
In terms of students being Jets fans, I'm trying to think like, did any young students say, "Oh, I'm a Jets fan now"? Certainly, a lot of students have been coming up to me this year and say, "Oh, yeah, y'all are good. Y'all are good this year." I'm not used to that. That's for sure.
Kyle, what do you think about this question? Rise of the New York Jets, which I don't know if that sounds like. I don't know if that's just a name or a podcast or whatever, but if it is, go check them out. What kind of adjustments should the Jets make if the Patriots stack the box to limit the run?
What kind of adjustments should? Do you feel like the Patriots are going to stack the box, Joe?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think they're going to stack. They stack the middle of the field to take away like the quick and easy reads for Wilson, or like throw like if it's cover one, like throw that hole in there, or throw like a robber. But I don't think they're going to necessarily stack the box against the run. Now, if they do, hit them with RPOs, conflict defenders. Keep that conflict defender.
I would like to see more. I mean, the Jets scored on a screen in their last game to James Robinson. I would like to see more screens. I feel like they've been better at running them. They just don't run them enough.
And it's something I didn't really see in the Pats game too. Like, I want to see more trickery. I want to see more jet sweeps, more end arounds, even though the Pats are disciplined. But I don't necessarily trust their linebackers in a ton of space. So more of that again. And if they are stacking the box, then make one of those defenders a conflict defender and an RPO. And if he sits on it, then guess what? You run the ball, and if he busses on the run, then guess what? You're hitting a slant behind him. So I want to see more of what they did against the Bills. Like that's an effective game plan for really many teams.
Yeah.
Juwan can hold up behind it.
Juwan Buntley is an absolute thumper downhill, but yeah, getting him to move in space laterally isn't necessarily his game. And Garrett Wilson did look really good on the sweeps against the Patriots. So I would say, probably give him one early, and then you can have a couple where, I guess it all depends on how the first one goes. I mean, the Patriots are probably going to expect it this week. So you might fake a sweep to him this week, and then, maybe throw like a backside wheel route off of it or something like that. But I do think that the Jets are going to, they're going to have to, if the Patriots are going to stack the box, and they're usually really good in fitting the run and, not blowing their assignments, they're going to have to get players in space a little bit more. So I do want to see a little bit more of the jet motion and stuff. And by the way, the Belichick teams have had a little bit of trouble defending the Shanahan system in the past. I remember a couple of years ago, the 49ers went to New England and absolutely trounced the Patriots. So, get them in space a little bit more. A lot of stuff off of the motion and stuff. Anyway, I don't know if that's a good answer, but we can move on.
Has Garrett been better against press than you guys saw in college? Only Jared Alexander gave him fits. He hasn't faced like a ton of press. And in general, going back and watching him, like there's a play against the Pats where like he got the shit rocked out of him, because with press, I would like to see him he kind of hops a little bit and leaves his feet, and if guys are aggressive, it lets them get into his chest. I've seen that a couple times. And then against press, I still do see him bowing his routes out a little bit and not necessarily giving the biggest throwing window to the quarterback. But past that, he's been better, because I didn't necessarily expect his explosion to translate as well as it has. Like, obviously sometimes it's hard to judge. Like you see him versus, whoever, Ole Miss, running a route, and you're like, oh shit, okay, yeah, he beat this guy who's going to be, an accountant. but how is he going to do versus Jaire Alexander? And even Jaire Alexander, like he had Jaire once or twice where Zach didn't see him. The throw to the sideline where Zach put it behind him. Garrett Wilson got open on a crossover versus Jaire Alexander there. So Garrett Wilson has been ridiculously impressive, and going back and watching him specifically and watching every single one of his reps in 2022 so far, I was even more impressed than I was initially watching him like more passively throughout this year, which is why it's fun to do those reviews. So,
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you just said.
He still has to work on it again. Bowling's routes out. There's times where he's there's a lot of hopping and leaving his feet, and he got shook. He got jammed up pretty well against the Pats a time or two because of that, but.
He obviously had a great rep against press, against the Bills, that big seam route that he caught, but he was kind of going against, was that Benford? It was, if that was Benford's like a rookie. I think he's like a rookie UDFA or a late round draft pick. So Garrett should torch somebody like that. And whoever the corner was, he was super over aggressive with his jam right there. So
I think his best rep against press was probably the fade against the Browns. That one touchdown he had.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was really nice.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
What corner was that against? It definitely wasn't against Ohio State boy, fellow Ohio State boy. Denzel Ward. It wasn't against Ward. So was it? I'm trying to remember. Well, somebody in the chat will know.
How is Huff against the run? Seemingly, what would you? Seemingly, you.
I think he means you would want to give. I think he meant to say.
Hey, listen, if he's gonna be as effective as he is against the pass, like JFM and JJ and Lawson and even Curry are solid against the run. So he even if he is all right in the run game, we have guys who are plus average. So there's no reason to kind of slow down his really effective pass rush to try to force him into the run game, right? Like he could be okay on the Jets team a couple of years ago. But with that, and I never thought it was miserable. I don't think he was dreadful.
I don't ever remember him being a real liability in the run game, but I'm trying to think of like pretty much all his good reps that I've ever seen throughout the entirety of his career. They've pretty much all been pass rush reps. So it's just, and the thing about Huff, I'm pretty sure he's got really not long arms. I think his arms are rather short. I don't know what measurements are off the top of my head.
Kyle Smith says he's a bad athlete. That's part of it,
Hey, listen, I've retracted that statement several times now, but you just don't let stuff go, do you?
Neither do you. It's okay. Good.
Yeah. Now, obviously, pass rush. So he almost never wins with like long arms and stuff. Like whenever he wins as a pass rusher, it's always with he's always like super quick hands, and he's like really good at like defeating the opposite
Greg
defender.
Greg Newsome, by the way.
I did see that, okay, but you also need long arms in terms of the run game, like especially if you're playing on the edge, because you want to be able to set the edge, hold your outside, the outside gap. But, if you have a short arm, it's a little bit harder to do that. So, they definitely don't want to play him in the run game. That's for sure.
Kyle, what's more likely, Sauce as defensive rookie of the year or Quinn as defensive player of the year? I think this one's pretty easy.
Sauce is defensive rookie of the year.
It's really, really hard to win as a D tackle. Like you have to be Aaron Donald level. So yeah, it's him.
Yeah, and the thing is there's several other interior defensive linemen that could get it over Quinnen because we still have half the season left to play. But then there's also other good defensive players too, edge rushers and such, that could get it as well. It's just a lot of competition there. Whereas Sauce, he's not dealing with as much competition.
Best rookie wide receiver on the field so far, and again, like I'll always be transparent. It's hard to say that he's been better than Olave or Olave's been better than him because I haven't watched every single one of Olave's reps, but. Could part of it be Olave's numbers be the fact that he's playing in an offense with not as much talent on it? Could be, or could he just be dominating? I don't know, but they're relatively similar. But it's hard to say, right? Simon, can our defense keep New England under 17 points? I don't see why not. What they let 23 last time, but that's with 3 picks. So yeah, you'd hope so. I think they could if they can keep the Bills to 17 points. They should be able to keep the Pats to 17 points, right?
Yeah. And yeah, 23, and 3 of them definitely should not have counted. And obviously the Patriots, we gave them the ball so many times. I mean, like turnovers, there's a reason they're such a game changer, man. I mean, we gave them, good field position too many times with stupid turnovers. Yeah. Anyway,
Harold with straight up dedication. What's up, Joe and Kyle? Left work a little early just to get back in the mix. Really good season. Let's rip off the 6-2 record on the backside of this season.
Wow, that would be amazing.
6. Listen,
12 wins.
We're saying I'm hoping for 11, expecting or not. I'm not expecting 10. I'm expecting 10 or 11. And listen, at the end of the day, again, not to be like do it all the time, but like Pats, Bears, Lions, Jags, right? Or no, Pats, Lions, Bears, Jags. That's 4. You got 10 wins already. Who's to say you can't beat? Listen, Seahawks. Are they a better team than the Seahawks? To me personally, they are. You take that game on the road. Can you beat one of the Vikings, Bills, or Dolphins? I would probably say that I wouldn't bet on them to win those games, but you can't take one of those 3. Like, fuck yeah, they could win 12 games. I'm expecting 10 or 11 though, but 12, like we're talking about potential. Well, the Chiefs are still there.
Jets haven't won 12 games in a season since 98, right? 12 regular season games, that is. I think 98 was the last time.
I think you're right, but I'm not the best. I'm not the best with historic stuff. I was 5, at that point, so I don't necessarily remember. Chicken Jenkins, hey guys, what do you think of the key on offensive wins against New England defense? It's be smart with the ball, take what's open. Like it's simple. Like against the Bills, Zach was a lot more confident in his receivers, a lot more confident in his reads, a lot more confident in the pocket, a lot more confident running the ball. Do that again against New England. There were plays to be had there. Like it's not like it was overly complex where they did anything crazy. And now obviously, it's a lot more complicated than people realize it is, but there was nothing that I saw. I was like, holy shit, they really confused him there. He just didn't trust himself. So if he trusts himself, trust the pocket, trust his players on his team, they win that game handily, and they can win this game. Right, Kyle? I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, it's not like one of those Darnold games. Like, for example, everyone remembers the Monday night Darnold game. I mean, they blitzed the shit out of Darnold. It was 0 blitz, 0 high safety. Listen, we don't think you guys can block us, and we don't think your quarterback can make the throws quick enough, and we don't think your receivers can get open enough against tough press man coverage. Our cover corners are too good against your guys. Darnold just he didn't stand a chance in that game, and that's tough to deal with that situation. I mean, New England didn't do anything too fancy or whatever, but yeah, Zach just he wasn't trusting his eyes there.
No. Do you think we extend Huff? So I was on with Ryan, and he's a restricted free agent, so I'm not sure. I suck with those numbers, but I think they could put a second round tender on him for now. Is he here long term? If I had to say, I'll probably say no, just because I think his agents are going to say, okay, well, we want to go to a team who's going to play 70% and place against the run, and we'll take that $10 million, $11 million, whatever it's going to be if he keeps producing the way he is. Instead of the Jets coming to him and saying, hey, we're still going to play you 35, 40% of the time, but you're only playing that percentage, so let's play you 6 or 7. So if I had to bet, my feeling is no. But this next year, I think you could second round tender him for $3-4 million. And if he leaves, okay, you got a second round pick or first round tender, which I don't think they'd go that high, probably second round. So I think he's here next year. Past that, I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah, and nobody's going to give you a second round pick for him. But if you did, which is not going to happen, that'd be great. So yeah, there's a very good chance, being that somebody would have to give up a draft pick in order to get him, that he will be here next year. So good.
Joe, did you notice all the refs hanging with Pats players in the end zone before the Pats game? No, I didn't. And me and Kyle were in there pretty early. Now, do refs talk to players? At the end of the day, Sauce Gardner was hanging out with the refs pre-Broncos game. Obviously, the refs talking to him about they're going to let him play a little bit this game. So they'll talk, but there was. Listen, I'm not one to be like, hey, the refs, but that game, hey, the refs. Holy shit, dude. And I highlighted it on the review, multiple penalties where it was lesser for the Pats and it got called, but not for the Jets. The Judon hit, the Mosley hit was bad. Zach Wilson last week is running the ball, gets smacked in the face, helmet to helmet, doesn't get called. The ref saying literally right there, his hands in his hips. I'm like, what are you doing? So the Pats definitely get some penalties. So
Zach Wilson, he has not been getting rough in the passing calls this year, or there was also that in the Denver game. I pointed this out a couple of weeks ago. I think it was number 97, some big fat ass defensive lineman for Zach Wilson ran out of bounds. He was but he fell down while he was out of bounds. He's way out of bounds. And whoever the guy is just does a big jump, frog splash on him, out of bounds way after the whistle, and no flag. I cannot believe that was not a flag. Mm-hmm. Go back and watch it. If somebody can go back, I should probably try to clip it and put it out on social media, because that to me was such an abomination that there was no flag there.
Yeah. I see some people talk about the JFM penalty against the Pats. To me, it's a penalty. You know, again, the rules of the law. Like he took a step and a half and he lunged at him. Now if he took a step and a half and bumped him and grabbed him, okay, I would be pissed. But you clearly see him step lunge. So don't give me it wasn't a penalty, because now if it's more consistently called in the NFL, I wouldn't get your guys' frustration as much. But he did lunge. He didn't just fall into him. He's a big guy running. He clearly lunged into him. So it's JFM's fault. Now, do I like the fact the NFL is as soft as it is? No, but you got to be smarter than that. So, do you guys think from Harold? Do you think Lawson is getting enough credit for doing the dirty this year? Every time I look up, it seems he's involved in a line game and is helping someone shine. Yeah, he's definitely pushing that left side of the offensive line, and you see him involved in the stunts and things like that. Now, is he playing up to a $15 million contract? Maybe not. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with him next year, especially considering, you have Huff to sign or to account for. You have Q. You have you obviously have JJ. You have JFM on a big contract. You have to re-sign Quan. You have to re-sign Quincy. Maybe who's your starting free safety? Who is your center? If it's not McGovern next year, who is your right tackle? So could I see them getting rid of a guy like Lawson? I could. Now, if they could fit him in the roster, but while addressing other ones, I would love it. But no, Lawson's been good. Now, again, $15 million good. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll put it this way: if we were getting this level of play that he's had this year, and we signed him to the contract that we signed him for, I'd be a little bit disappointed. The reason I'm not disappointed in him with how he's played this year is he's coming off a huge Achilles injury. And those are hard to come back for. It's a bigger injury than as an ACL. So I'm okay with how he's played this year, but in terms of the future, there are some things to consider. If Jermaine Johnson took a huge step in the second half of the year and just became an absolute terror in the pass rush, which I fully do not expect, then you start to think, okay, maybe we could trim some fat here with Carl Lawson. He's not as necessary anymore. But I don't think that'll happen because the Jets, they just love having such a heavy rotation and keeping everybody fresh. It doesn't. I think it makes sense to let him play out the final year of his contract because it was a 3-year deal, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to pay the quarterback yet, so I don't think it makes sense to part ways with him. The level he's played at this year, it doesn't make sense to part ways with him yet.
Yeah, it's gonna be again. Listen, at the end of the day, the Jets are gonna have like $30-ish million in cap space. Let's assume it goes up a little bit, 40 for the TVs and all that stuff. But then you have Q, then you have Quan, then you have Quincy, then you have a starting free safety, then you have McGovern. So we'll see what they do. CD's talking about Saleh maybe losing confidence or something like that, or losing confidence in Saleh in second halves this year. But the Jets are the best fourth quarter team in this year. They came back against the Browns. They came back against the Steelers.
By the way,
beat the Bills in the fourth quarter. CD, I don't know.
CD has been so consistently a frequent person in the chat here, so we very much appreciate that. But I can honestly say all the many shows, the many hours that we've done this now, there is no other commenter other than CD that manages to get Joe Blewett to make that face of disgust when he disagrees with your point so much.
He's been killing it in the fourth quarter all year. We just beat the Bills in the fourth quarter. So we're losing confidence. He showed it the next game in the fourth quarter. They're good. We ran down the Bills' throat 7 yards, 8 yards, 12 yards, 14 yards, 8 yards, 12 yards. So now we're not confident in the fourth quarter. We're losing confidence in Saleh. So, it's mental. They just did it against AFC favorites. CD, CD, yeah. It's something bad. Some of its takes are very good. Some of them are outlandish. That's another outlandish one. They just did it last game. I don't know, man. Nonetheless, last comment, and we'll get into the awards. Heard our Raging Cajun Max Mitchell is back practicing and might have him backing at Chicago. Definitely the Vikings love that Raging Cajun. Yeah, it's he's good for a 4th round pick. And am I confident in him starting at right tackle for us here? Not necessarily, but let's keep moving on, Kyle. Or let's keep moving on. Let's go to our I guess some other little side notes that we didn't really mention. We'll get into our awards. We'll go through the schedule. Nonetheless. Jets signed, they brought back LDT. He's on the practice squad now. Quick thoughts on that one.
Yeah. So when I saw that news, I was trying to think, okay. I mean, I thought the player, he certainly was an improvement over Van Roten. I know it's Van Roten, but I would like to call him Roten. But anyway, He was certainly
I
a good
get it.
improvement
I
over
get it.
him. I was trying to think like what does he do that's good? And off the top of my head, I was struggling to think of anything he does particularly well. But hey, listen, I love the depth, man. I love the depth, and I do really like the fact that they've expanded what the practice squad number is. So now that you can have so many guys that you can just call up on any given week or whatever,
Mhm.
I think that that's going to help out the good teams that are better at scouting and stuff even more because you just have like for example, like the Jets, they had to part ways with so many players this year. Um, you know, but I feel like they're finally building good depth, and I feel like the additional practice squad helps you to keep some of those players around. But yeah, I mean, listen, the Jets have been so banged up on the offensive line, you know, and Herbig's dealing with a little bit of an injury issue now. There's question whether or not he's going to be able to go this Sunday. I think he will, based off of how it sounds. But more depth. The guy who came in, and the Jets had some pretty good games. Like for example, that Dolphins game later in the year, they ran the ball decently well. They had some good games running the football last year. So I'm trying to think, was that one of LDT's best games, or was that one of his first games against the Dolphins? But I feel like he played pretty well in that game last year. So hey, listen, I like it. You're barely paying anything to get him here, so I
Yeah,
support it.
listen, he was decent when he came in for what, like 5 or 6 games he started, and right now past Feeney, like who is the other backup interior offensive lineman? Like by the time I was like, who the fuck is it? Like who else is there? It's supposed to be Herbig and Feeney, but like past Feeney, they really didn't have much of anything. So great move to bring LDT back, and it kind of like speaks to the locker room and Saleh and Joe Douglas. Like I guess I think there's a Draft Network put out something like they did an interview with him, and like he was saying he wanted to come back to the Jets. So you have a guy who's clearly wanting to come back to the Jets. So he likes the way it's handled. He likes the coach. He likes the staff. So that's good.
I think
So
it's
yeah, no, I
definitely a
like it.
very true thing that players actually really legit do love playing for Saleh.
Mhm.
I know that players really loved playing for Rex, and Rex always had the players back. Like he would always blame himself before he would blame a player, and there's something really cool about that. But it does seem to me that Saleh is a better manager of men, right? Dealing with players' emotions, dealing with coaches' emotions. If there's a fire in the building, putting it out. Saleh seems to be more competent in that department, right? I don't know that he's more of a football genius than Rex, but he also seems to I think he's also better at evaluating talent and certainly has a better relationship with the GM than Rex did.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So next thing we're moving on to, Kyle. This is slight news. I don't know if you saw this today, but apparently MetLife Stadium is changing into their field to their turf to grass. Did you see that?
Is that really true?
Yeah. And I forget exactly the source, but apparently, I guess like somebody heard of the Giants are changing the field to grass. So I'm assuming if the Giants are, obviously they're not going to change it every freaking week or every whatever. So apparently, I'm like 99% sure. I just would put my life on it that MetLife is going to grass.
Well, I did see a bunch of players over
Yeah.
the past weekend or the past couple days or whatever saying like, they were, I guess they were all like copy and pasting like the same format or whatever. So it must have been something like the players union put out or something, or
Same like hashtag or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, like we deserve more. We know the risks and stuff. It's bad enough the game's already risky. Like we shouldn't also be playing against whatever it was. But I mean, and I've seen some graphs and stuff that it seems like non-contact injuries have like a little bit of a higher percentage on turf fields than grass fields. I almost wonder if it's harder to quantify that because how many grass fields are there in the league in comparison to how many turf fields there are in the league, and I don't know if that skews the numbers.
Oh, so I'm going to correct myself here because people in the chat, which thank you for pointing out, Donald and Anthony and etc. It says the Giants will be making changes to the MetLife Stadium turf for next season. From this article, this is from Dan Schneer, whatever his name is. It appears Julian Love played a role in convincing the dire need for a change. So I guess they're upgrading the turf next year. It's not grass.
Who helped convince that?
I just closed the window for my
Oh,
Twitter.
okay.
I don't.
I do know that a lot of people bitched about the MetLife turf. If you think back to when I think Solomon Thomas tore his knee up against the Jets back in the 2020 season, that's the same game that Nick Bosa tore his knee up against the Jets. There was like 2 or 3 really big injuries in that game. And I know that some of those 49er players were bitching about the MetLife turf. And then I think some other players did as well. So I can't speak to why that turf is not as good as maybe some others. But in terms of grass, when you said that, if you noticed how shocked my face was and how my voice was when you said that, because it's harder to keep a grass field in this area with the weather. Like I know that Arizona is one of those stadiums that has like a like a really nice natural
Dude,
grass field, but with the amount of sunlight they get over there, it's easier to maintain it.
Yeah, that stadium was so nice, Arizona. Fans weren't as nice as I thought they would be, to be completely honest. But Midwest
Joe,
fans,
you hate fans of every fan base.
no,
I've
dude,
come to notice
Packers, no
Okay.
problem.
That's the only one I've
Packers, no
heard you
problem.
like. That's the only one I've heard you speak highly of.
If there's one team I'd root for in the playoffs, like I don't root for anybody, it's Packers fans. Yeah, no, Vikings, Browns, Jags, fuck them all. Packers fans, their fans are so nice when they're playing. I'm like, until the Packers win.
Did you eat
Like,
any of the Packers fans' food?
No, I can't say I did.
I'm just wondering because they're very generous with offering food to.
They were awesome. So we had like a big tailgate. I think it's like Tailgate Joe from Jet Nation, or he's involved with Jet Nation, but there's like a lot of Jets fans there. And then there was Packers fans who were also there, and like it had tables out. So like, the Jets fans just thought like, oh, there's a table out with food. It must be from this tailgate, and like they were grabbing the food, and like they were polite to be like, hey guys, by the way, there's like 150 of you, so maybe not grab our food. But no, they were nice. The one guy had like one of the long wooden paddles with divots in it for shots, and like everybody's taking the shots of his stuff, and so they were cool. They were cool. And then a tuba guy going around doing the "Go Pack Go" chant. Go Pack Go, and like Jets fans. Okay, so midseason awards, Kyle. We'll run through this. We got a lot of content to scrape through in the next 47 minutes or so. So we're gonna go through offensive player of the year, offensive rookie of the year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Actually, I didn't do rookie of the year, which we can just put that in there. But we will start off, and I want to hear some of the chats as well. Which I want to go through the chat. Let's see. Okay, are Philly and Boston fans worst? Philly fans, yes. Boston, they're fine. They're cocky, but they deserve to be cocky. The Bruins have won plenty. The Celtics have won plenty. The Red Sox, Bruins, Celtics, they all win. So we'd be cocky too. At the end of the day, like Knicks fans talking like they win all the time. I hate Knicks fans. I always will. Nonetheless.
Hey, I'm a Knicks fan.
Yeah, but are you?
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. I won't argue with you there.
Offensive player of the year, Kyle. I'll let you go first on everyone, unless you don't want me to.
This was tough. I certainly would have chosen Breece Hall if he wasn't going to miss more than half the season, but that's obviously, sadly, not the case. So to this point, I will admit that it's been what they've done so far, but also what I'm expecting for the second half of the season too. I'm going with Garrett Wilson.
We are in lockstep. I think the chat would agree. I don't think there's really a ton of options, honestly. Like I think obviously if ABT or Breece were still healthy, I think you could argue for either one of those. And while Breece might have been more flashy in terms of the value of an offensive lineman and the value of him going from left guard, left tackle, right guard, right tackle, he's probably more valuable than Breece. So I understand those arguments, but at this point, obviously they're not healthy. So I think Garrett Wilson is the only one you can really have there. Swolesy agrees. Edward agrees. So the next, Kyle, defensive player of the year. So I think some of these are pretty.
You go with this one since I said it first.
The first ones are pretty easy. The next ones, like underrated, overrated, are more fun. Defensive player of the year. People are gonna say Sauce. To me, it's Q. I think Sauce is very, very, very good at his position. Again, you're top 5. If you're being a little bit more nitpicky, maybe top 10. I'm fine with either one of those. There's no way he falls out of the top 10. But Quinnen Williams right now, this season, is playing like the best defensive tackle in the league. The best. Even Donald, like you look at his numbers, he's not having as great of a year. So even if you want to put Donald just because of Donald as one, Q is by far number 2 right now, and with what he's doing. So I think Q is the defensive player of the year right now for the Jets.
Yeah. So when you sent this out, I was thinking like, okay, they never give like offensive player of the year and MVP to the same person. Like if we're just talking about like how the NFL gives out awards, but I'm not, if you can give it to both, okay, I'll say Q. I wrote down Sauce just because I'm already, giving out what I'm saying for MVP. My MVP is Quinnen Williams. No doubt about it. Cause I completely agree with everything Joe said. Q. And I've been, I don't want to say hater. I've been a doubter of him, and wondering he can ever get to his potential, but he looks like the player at Alabama that we drafted him to be this year.
Yeah.
dominant on any given down, any given situation, can beat any different type of offensive lineman. Yeah. So, if I can give it MVP and Defensive Player of the Year to the same person, I go with Q. But otherwise, I go with Sauce.
MVP of the year is that cigar Joe was smoking after that Bills win. Kyle was going to smoke a cigar for the first time in like a decade and didn't because of the
Would have been the
Pats
first
freaking
time
beat us.
since 2008. It would have been.
Yeah, so 14 years. So hopefully we get to enjoy it. Are you going to smoke a cigar if we beat the Jaguars, Kyle? Victory cigar for the Jaguars?
For
It
the
doesn't mean as
Jaguars?
much, right?
For the Jaguars, I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know if this is a guy on Twitter, but like somebody had the picture of me like screaming out. I was out the sunroof on the highway in Wisconsin. It's like, I need a new picture, and then Tom tagged him with me on the bus smoking a cigar. I was like, oh, okay, that's good.
I don't think I saw that picture.
The cigar.
I don't think I saw that picture. Yeah,
you're depressed because you didn't come.
Whoa! First of all, you never even offered.
You have
the Packers game, huh?
The Packers game.
The Packers game.
I was talking about. No, well,
But I wasn't even going to ask too, because I already kind of inserted myself with some other games in the past, including Carolina. I was like, Joe, let Joe do his thing with his other friends.
And this because I don't think you because I think like Carolina, you and your wife can enjoy that and stuff and like come to the game, but like obviously you're not a drinker, so like you coming in and like us being drinking whole weekend, it gets a little like we're getting fucking shots.
Listen, I can be around people who drink
shit.
and not feel tempted, so to speak, myself, or not feel like I'm missing out.
I'm gonna get you one day. I'm gonna get you one day. Not to insult you, but I'm gonna get you one day, Kyle.
I did say you're a bad influence.
Yes, I am. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Obviously with Offensive Player of the Year, it's Garrett Wilson for both. We don't even really need to talk about that much. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Kyle. If you don't have Sauce, you are mistaken. So it's Sauce, right? There's really not much more to say about that.
Yep.
Rookie of the Year, argument Garrett Wilson versus Sauce.
You actually didn't write that one for me on the thing.
I know. I said I didn't, but somebody brought it up in the chat, I think. So I put it in there quickly.
Yeah, Sauce over Garrett Wilson. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that will ever change? Do you think Sauce is I guess just to extend this kind of the part of it, but like, do you think it's always going to be Sauce? Is Sauce always going to be the best rookie of this class?
I would say that, if I'm being honest, just looking at how, trends and stuff, it's harder to be a good corner 8, 9, 10 years into your career versus a good receiver 8, 9, 10 years into your career. So I would say that hopefully both these guys, they're here for the long haul. I mean, that would be amazing. Mm-hmm. But let's say year 9 with the Jets, Garrett Wilson could very well be better than Sauce Gardner, and that wouldn't shock me not one bit.
Yeah, and even like Brees, like at the end of the day, Brees, you're looking at his last couple of games. Who's to say that Brees can't put up, I don't know, 1,800, 1,700 all-purpose yards this next year. He was on pace to do well over 1,000. So who's to say he can't be the best? MVP of the team, you kind of already said it in terms of like if you had MVP.
Oh, I definitely said it.
It's Quinn Williams for both of us. These are where it's a little bit more interesting, Kyle. Most improved player this year.
This one, all right. So I'm admitting I rushed writing down my answers to this list. I had a pretty damn busy day at work, and Joe sent it to me while I was at work, and I had to come home and do some shit as well. So I was kind of doing it like not too long before we started. So I was like, man, I really hope I don't have an oversight. Initially, I wrote Berrios, and then I changed my answer to Nathan Shepard. Am I missing something there? Like, who did you write?
So Nathan Shepard's like that's a good poll. But I put Q as a most improved. You're talking about a guy who was solid last year, but now you're talking about the best defensive tackle in the league this year. It's Q. My other answer, if I had like two, because I had some answers where I put multiple guys, but I had my primary. Q is my primary. Rankins was another one. Rankins has played a lot better this year when he was in. Now, unfortunately, he's unhealthy or he got injured or whatever. So I would say Q, Rankins. I get the Shepard poll for sure. Past that, I think those are. I don't know what the chat says, but those would be like my three.
Yeah. So I guess my thinking behind Shepard is like, okay, let me think of a guy who's kind of under the radar, who's kind of like actually, because the way I look at Shepard last year is like almost a guy I never wanted on the field. Whereas this year, like, I don't think you should be playing it. I don't. What?
I think it would know Shepard.
Yeah, I saw that too in the chat. But now Shepard's like, I don't want him playing a high percentage of the snaps at all, but playing, a little bit of percentage of the snaps each game. Like, okay, I'll take that. Like he's found a role for himself. But yeah, Quinnen has taken an astronomical jump in his play. So, that seems like a good answer, but I think Shepard's also taking a pretty good jump in his play too. So
Rusty talking about kickers. I know Rusty will have like a name of like 5 or 6 of them who should draft. Joyner, no.
no.
Trust me, just trust me. He is not playing as well as you guys think he is. He's not. It's getting hidden a lot by the pass rush and the receivers. So past that, Kyle, should I have saved these? I don't know. It's fine. I'm deleting them as we go. Like our answers to these, but I'll remember for the most part.
I don't see him in here tonight, but last time Mike Galiza, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, he wrote down our list of top 25. So if Mike is watching this on rerun, and you are willing to take that assignment, Mike, you can record these. That would be appreciated.
That'd be awesome. I can always go back and listen. I've been deleting them. What about Quincy for most improved? He's improved. I just wouldn't say to the level that a Q or Rankins has. And again, if you go back and watch the Bills game, I pulled it up last week. There's literally a play where he blows an assignment and Rankins strip sacks Josh Allen, where he was going to target Singletary probably for a walk and touchdown, but it's hidden, So Bryce Huff went from practice squad guy to a legit pass rush strike, kind of came out of nowhere. That's another good one. But I have a different answer for Huff, because I think he was always good, but he was injured last year.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
Dude, Huff was really good in that Titans game, man. He's a big reason why. I mean, they sacked Tannehill and had so many hits and pressures on Tannehill in that game, and he was a big reason for that. Huff has been kind of like a pretty good role player for years now, even as a rookie. Like, he had flashes in his sophomore year. So this is his 4th year, if I'm not mistaken. Even in his sophomore year, he took a big jump in his play from his rookie year. But even as a rookie, he had a role for himself. So to say that he's, really improved, he's definitely gotten better, but it's not like as big as a leap as some people might think.
Disappointing, Kyle. I think we were going to have same answers.
Yeah,
for
Laken Tomlinson. How could it not be?
Yeah, $15 million. People are like, oh, 15, and this isn't Ryan's chat. No offense to his chat or anything like that. It's probably obviously people with a lot of crossover, like, oh, he's paid to be healthy. Yeah, he's not paid $15 million a year to be healthy. We could find some guys who are healthy for less than $15 million a year. He's paid to be a Pro Bowler, ish level player, and he's been some weeks.
Hey, listen, Joe Flacco's missed. He hasn't missed a lot of games in his career. He's healthy week in, week out.
He's making $15 million, but no, it's easily Laken for me. He hasn't been as bad in recent weeks, but he's still not great. I can't. With that being said, I can't remember any clear blunders in the Bills game for him, so that's a positive. But at the end of the day, I had Laken. Is there anybody else who you'd think of?
CD? Not shocked at all that CD says this. Elijah Moore. I wrote down E. Moore was in consideration. ... strongly. So I did strongly consider Elijah Moore.
CD and I think he clarified that he said in the Pats game they lost it in the second half, like they weren't as confident, which I agree with more. So he kind of not adjusted, but maybe we misread it. But yeah, no, more 100. Yeah, more Laken Tomlinson. I think more. I think you could say maybe not for me, but for some other people, Jordan Whitehead. He's been pretty disappointing to me. I don't think he's great. Uzama in terms of he has like 6 catches. Now he's been a great blocker. Good. Are you paying a guy $8 million to block?
You did not. Don't tell me that you honestly expected CJ Uzama to have a decent amount more production in the receiving game than what he's had.
Because I expect him to have 6 catches. Half of a little bit more. I expected more like.
Well, we also expected Zach Wilson to be playing better in the passing offense to be better in general.
Yeah, if I had to say, we probably maybe do this stat prediction, but 25, 30 catches for 300 yards from Uzama, not 6 catches for 80. So I would say disappointing. He definitely falls in that realm 100%. Biggest surprise, Kyle.
Biggest surprise. If this is a bad answer, I wrote Elijah Moore. I mean, come on.
Oh, surprise in a bad way, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I had the guy ranked number 1 in our top 25. To expect him to go, what? How many games has he had 0 targets? It's at least several. Is it 3 games where 0 targets? Right? I mean, I never would have expected that. That is
Bills
a huge
game.
surprise.
Well, Bills game 0 targets. The Broncos game was maybe 0 targets. Well, he was out. He got benched, right? Broncos game. So yeah, definitely 0 targets.
0 targets in the Packers game, I believe. I think it was post Packers game when he started bitching. He did have one target, but I think it was called back on some kind of penalty.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. 100%.
So that's like what two games with 0 targets, and then what's the most receiving yards he's had in any one game this year? Like 60 something?
Yeah, maybe like 45, 50. Did Lakin benefit playing next to Trent? Yeah, 100% he did. Listen, and Kyle can attest. He watches all the reviews. When we signed him, that review was pretty brutal for a guy $15 million. He was like, yeah, guys, you're going to be disappointed with him a little bit. I didn't think I think he's going to be as bad as he's been, but
and I definitely do not watch as many different games when reviewing like a player that we signed as Joe does. So getting my impressions of a new player that we acquired, I definitely lean on Joe a good amount, but I also will watch, a couple games in my own right before I watch Joe's reviews. And I remember watching some Lakin the very next live stream that we did after we signed him. And I was saying like, yeah, I think that this is a bit of an overrated signing. I don't think he's as good as people think he is.
I think the two biggest overrated, really the three were Whitehead, Tomlinson, and Uzama were probably the biggest overrated that we were kind of on that train, which I think we've seen kind of come to fruition, which we're not rooting for. I want everybody to be amazing, but it is what it is. So biggest surprise, more is a good answer. I kind of went in more positive light for this, Kyle. I guess I'm half full, you're half empty. I went Herbig and Huff are the biggest surprises to me this year in terms of how good they are. You could put Rankins in there, you could put Q in there. There's a lot of good answers. But I went Herbig. He's been really solid at right guard for the Jets, which is obviously a little bit of a surprise. I thought he's a good backup, not a good starter, and so far he's been at least an all right starter. So positivity, especially coming for. I know the Eagles run some zone, but they're not as outside zone heavy as the Jets are. And he's not the best mover, and he hasn't been shit on outside zone, which is a little bit surprising. And Huff obviously has been ridiculously good when he's in the game. So past that, Kyle, underrated.
Yeah, so underrated. I was wondering if this was a good answer, and I'm like, I tried thinking a couple times, am I missing somebody? Am I missing somebody? Am I missing somebody? But I went Connor McGovern because I think he's been underrated for several years now.
That's a good answer, just because like the general fan base, I think, not the show, but they shit on him because of a couple of bad games early on in his tenure with the Jets. But we're into year 3. People grow, people play better. And I think
Adam Gase was his coach that year too.
And I think he's in a slightly above average center, which to me is that's fine. So let me put DJ Reed in here and go to Twitter if you don't follow Nani, but he just put a tweet that in terms of trios between Sauce, Reed, and Mike Carter II, that were allowing the fewest yards per play out of like the other top duos in the league. So more yards than some other teams, but they're on the field more than some others. But nonetheless, Kyle, for the did I already ask you this? Underrated?
I don't think you said you're underrated. I said mine, but did you say yours?
Underrated? So I have a couple. Your answer was who again? Sorry,
McGovern.
Yeah, McGovern's a good one for sure. I have Rankins in here for this year. I think he's been underrated, not talked about enough. I have Michael Carter II in there, even though I think he's being talked about properly now. I think people talk about him enough, so maybe not.
I can't think of a single Jets fan that doesn't like Michael Carter II.
And then I see some people in the chat put Reed as well, but Reed is being talked about properly now. Like people get how good he is as well. And he's been a surprise this year too, in terms of like, good surprises. Like he's been very, very good as well. But I'll put Rankins as my number one. Overrated, Kyle.
Overrated. Why don't you go first with yours? Because I've been going first for the past couple.
So I've seen a couple people in here say the one I just added, which is another good name to have. I just didn't put it as my fourth. Overrated. I hate to say it because people like always hate it, but I think Quincy is a little bit overrated by people. And people I think last year was like, oh, solid backup, but this year I think people think like, oh, he's a good starter. I think if you take away that secondary and that pass rush, he's going to struggle more than he has, and I've referenced it quite a few times. And then past that, the other ones, Joyner is 100% overrated by fans, 100,000%. Whitehead's another guy.
Interceptions. That's something that you can look on a stat sheet. Oh wow, he's got a decent amount of interceptions this year, and he must be a good player.
Whitehead, that throw to Diggs on the sideline without that holding was completely on Whitehead. Only one vertical threat. He's playing cover 2. Just let him run right in front of him, like very easily. And that sounds simple, but that's all it was. And then another guy who's been a little bit overrated, at least recently. And at first he was underrated, but now I feel like he's gone into overrated. Mosley a little bit this year. A little bit more up and down you want to see for a guy making the money he does. Again, the Bills game, awesome. Pats game, he struggled in the Pats game. So those are the couple of names I put out for that.
Okay. So that was good. And I'm not going to really argue with you about any of those. I was going through the Jets roster and I was thinking people would want to eviscerate me and crucify me if I actually said this and this was my actual answer, but it's not, because I think that there's, something better to choose from. Even though I'm not even very satisfied with my answer, but I thought Sauce, because listen, Sauce is really good and I really loved him, and I'm going to sound like I'm being a contradictory hypocrite, but I do think, like, because for example, last week we pointed out a couple of, plays where Sauce has been, a little bit out of position, not the best technique in the world. And people are like, whoa, that's not even possible. Sauce is so highly respected across the entire league now. It seems like it's every, NFL Rookie Watch Twitter account is, week in, week out talking about how good he is. The official NFL Twitter account is talking about how good he is. He's got, nationwide recognition of how much of a beast he is at this point. And while he is very much a beast and stuff, there's still a decent amount of room for improvement. So, I think Jets fans are kind of like not used to having so much people across the whole, league respect a rookie, that we might be overrating him just a teeny tiny tad
tinge,
bit.
like people never open versus him. But again, it's more vertically. Like, there was a play where KJ Hamler could have beat him. There's a play that Judy could have beat him. There was a play that Deontay Johnson just didn't get his foot in bounds. There was a play in the Bills game where he could have had an easy first down. The Gabe Davis play, great. The PD, awesome. Should have never been in that position. He played that very sketchily, too aggressively in that position. But yeah, a twinge. I think Conklin underrated. That's a good one as well.
So my point is that that's not my answer. I can say what I just said, and also still think that Sauce is an absolute stud, foundation building piece of the teams. Should very well have a good shot at getting Defensive Rookie of the Year, and it would absolutely be deserved. But my answer, I don't know. And I didn't feel great about this one, but I did say Zach Wilson, because I still feel like there's a decent amount of the fan base out there that's looking to make a ton of excuses for him and stuff. I think CD is one of these guys too. It's like, oh, well, he's not slow at processing and stuff. He just doesn't trust his receivers. Yeah, come on. Okay. That's kind of on him too. You practice with these guys, week in, week out. You need to build a little bit more trust for them. You cannot be a quarterback and not trust your players, especially when they're getting open as much as they are. I mean, I'm not acting like they're, the greatest show on turf out there, getting open every single play or whatever, but they're getting open enough, and he's missing them when they are getting open. And that's on Zach. If you're not trusting, a guy like Garrett Wilson to get open, and a guy like Corey Davis to get open, and a guy like Elijah Moore to get open, that's a little bit on you. So I don't know. I feel like he's a little bit overrated too. And that's my answer.
I don't know if this is for underrated or overrated. I'm assuming I'll give you the benefit of the doubt here, Joe, because one Joe to another Joe. If it's overrated, it's Quincy, not Q, like QQ. But if it's underrated, maybe it's Q. But I can't see him being under. He's not underrated or overrated.
If I can comment on the Quincy thing for a moment.
Yeah.
In terms of why Quincy gets overrated, so Joyner, he's overrated right now because he's got the number, the interceptions, right? That stands out to people. You can just look at a box score stat sheet and say, oh wow, he's good, right? Like I remember when I was a kid and I used to play Madden back in 2003, 2004, 2005.
Sorry.
Huh?
What was that? The running back might be a little bit overrated by fans, but nonetheless, continue.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when I was a kid and I used to play Madden, this player had 9 interceptions in a season. He must be like the best safety in the league or whatever. Like it's so easy to, like just look at a box score and just automatically assume that a player is good because of this number. But there's so much like luck and just, happenstance, like interceptions. If people are not throwing in your direction, that's a good thing. So a high interception thing does not mean you're a good player. But I wanted to comment on Quincy Williams. And the reason he's overrated is when he can line up a person, get downhill, he is so fast. He knocks the shit out of people sometimes. Now he will miss every now and then, but those are highlight type plays. I think when the official NFL put out the top 10 plays of the Jets. Like Quincy at least had one of them or whatever. That big hit against the Packers, that was amazing. Again, on Aaron Jones. But like an organization like PFF, like we shit on them on a weekly basis. At least the thought process of why PFF was a good idea was for players like Quincy Williams, because he will have a big hit like that once every game or every other game or something like that. And you assume that, wow, he's a pretty damn good player. Look at that fucking hit, man. That was an amazing hit. But it's like, yeah, but what is he like on a down to down every play basis? And he does have a good amount of brain lapses, brain farts, plays where he's out of position and stuff, which could end up in a touchdown. So yeah, I mean, Quincy Williams is the epitome of like why PFF in theory tries to do what they do. So yeah, he's overrated for his big hits.
Snowball calls you a contradictory hypocrite.
I saw that.
I just left the highlight on there for a while. MC has been good, but we thought he'd be running back one with Brees, and it took Hall just a few weeks to take his job. Yeah, he's been fine, but Surtain, who was awesome, might be the best cornerback in the NFL, but wasn't as good as Sauce as a rookie. Sauce has been the best corner rookie year for pretty much like ever seen. So no, it's not saying that he's not great. It's just people think he's like the best right now, and he's one of the best. Let's say it like that. I actually agree with CD here. Justin Hardy way overrated enough with his penalties. He had a big penalty against the Pats, tossing the guy out of bounds. He is getting some penalties now.
Yeah, dude. If you get a dude, he obviously hit the role he played in that Browns game, recovering on an onside kick. I mean, that was a win right there. Like he significantly helped the Jets get a win that game. But like, as a special teams gunner, how often are you going to really be able to affect the game in that dramatic of a way? You're not. It's usually the matter of like a couple difference in the amount of yards that the player's going to get. But if you're getting a penalty every so often, 15 yards, I mean, that's a backbreaker, right?
Yeah.
So,
okay, we're gonna fly through these a little bit, so we only have a couple of minutes left here. Mitchell maybe slightly overrated. I agree with that actually, in terms of again, relative to expectations, outperform them, but I don't want him to be a starting right tackle at this point. Somebody said Casala for underrated. Yes. Braden Mann overrated. Yeah. Certain punts, he'll pin them 3 times in a row inside the 20-yard line, and then he shanks 120 yards. So you can't have that being a punter.
I'd rather have a consistent punter than a guy who can boom one every now and then.
I think he's talking about. Oh, I think he's talking about not me, Joe. Joe, the other Joe. I don't know. I haven't seen Joe troll too much. But best,
Joe who?
I guess Joe Campione.
Oh.
Best signing, Kyle.
I put DJ Reed. Conklin was good too, but DJ Reed has to be the best.
I put Reed, and then I also put Kwan for what the impact he's making for the money he's making. Just relative, you have to give him that. Moving on, just because we kind of have to. Worst signing.
I wrote Lakin. Hopefully he continues to improve.
Lakin, Whitehead, I would say close second. I don't think he's, people, and like, it's funny, like you see a couple of hard hits on Twitter and say, people, oh my God, I can't believe he's making $7 million a year. It's like, I can. Especially early on, like he missed like 2 big tackles on Cordell Patterson. Poised for a breakout, Kyle.
I think I thought I got all of them. Apparently I missed writing an answer for this one. So what's your answer?
Poised for, I'm trying to do the chat.
Oh, you know what? All right. So poised for a breakout.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a chance to actually write this as we were starting the first couple minutes of the show. I was kind of thinking, what's my answer going to be for this one? And I think I said, this might not be a good answer because some people would already say, oh, he's already broken out. But I think I wrote Garrett Wilson because, he's only scratching the surface of what he could be. Right. So I don't know if you'd consider that a bad answer, but
no, I don't, so my poised for breakout, I have a couple. I don't really know if it's a break. I had Huff in here as a third, but he's already kind of broken out. So I have one other one. Actually, I have 2. I mentioned JJ, but I don't know how much he's going to break out in terms of pass rushing. But my answer is Elijah Moore. Now what is a breakout? I don't know. I can tell you he's going to break out more than having no catches for 3 weeks. So I think he's going to put up stats.
Absolutely has to. Law of averages, man. He's way too talented to be putting up 0 yards per game.
Yeah. Robinson from CD, that's a good one. I would say Zach Wilson. I hope so. That's the one I hope for the most for a breakout.
Oh, yeah.
Comeback player of the year so far, Kyle.
I wrote rankings for this one.
Okay. So Comeback's always difficult to me to like not quantify, but like I feel like you have to come back from something, not just necessarily take like most. I feel like Rankins is most improved.
So it's usually like an injury you're thinking.
An injury. So I put Huff. Huff was injured a lot of last year and he's come back and pretty much dominated every time he's been on.
He missed like at least 10 games last year, right?
Yeah. So I think Huff. People are saying Lawson too. Lawson is another good answer. A lot of Lawsons in here. Becton comeback player. Hopefully next year, Hawk. Yeah, asshole. Game of the year.
See, this is why you shouldn't do this in such a fast fashion that I did it. Game of the year, you said? The Bills win. Has to be, right?
Yeah. The only other consideration I gave was to the Packers game because I was there and going to Lambeau, like being in the year, booking the tickets. I really think the Jets are going to go in there and shit on the Packers. So you go there. I went to the Bears game, Scott, having a great weekend, all that stuff. And then seeing 27-10, I believe it was ridiculous. Oh, Rusty's probably right here though too. Cleveland,
dude. That final 2-something minutes of actual game time, my jaws just like dropped the whole time. Like I was like, I had never seen the Jets come back like that. So in terms of a viewing perspective, that was crazy.
Just the fact that we have Browns, we have Bills, we have Dolphins, we have Packers, we have Pittsburgh.
Dolphins was really fun too.
We've actually won some games, Kyle. Like holy shit, it's great. But yeah,
when you're going against Skylar Thompson, it has to not be as high.
I think Bills is like it's my answer because of like okay now we're 6-3, like now we're legit. But at the time, that Cleveland game. Like that's the game of the year for the Jets. Like we had a 99.9% chance of losing that game.
Yeah.
Best play of the year so far, Kyle.
Yeah. So I didn't think I was going to have an answer for this one. I was like, oh shit, am I going to have to just lean on Joe for this one? And then I was like, I think Breece Hall's touchdown against the Broncos has to be play of the year because their offense was completely inept for pretty much the whole game. Outside of that, it was blocked really well. And then Breece Hall, the home run hitter, man, that play changed the game. I mean, literally, you won by a touchdown, and in a game where you had very little offense, you needed that. So I put that as play of the year.
Now I'm sure, like, if I had to look through all the plays and I say this was individually the best executed play of the year. Q Trucking Hill is a good one, Anthony J. In there. But my like best play, the play I was most excited for, like holy shit. But the Garrett Wilson touchdown to cap the win in Cleveland was
that was really good one too.
Like holy shit, like we actually did it,
Like I'm pretty sure we did that after. Yeah, and then dude, just watching the videos from the stands, like the Cleveland players, like the Cleveland fans shouting so loud and then like when it happens, they're just like, oh man,
yeah,
that's Garrett Wilson, Ohio State, like because they knew him well because Ohio anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That was good.
So what I want to do now, and we're gonna do this relatively quickly. I don't know if you can write down the records, Kyle, or I'll keep tabs of it. You can just write them down at the end. But I want to go through. So we're gonna do the schedule quickly we hate schedule predictions and stuff preseason, and I even do now, but it's just something to talk about because we're at the bye week. But I want to go through the Jets schedule, get wins or losses for both of us. I don't know if you can write it down or like a document, whatever.
I'm gonna write it down.
And then we'll go through really quickly, lightning round wins or losses for the other teams in the wild card contention. So tell me if you guys have other ideas of who can really make it there. But realistically, I think Bengals, Chargers, Pats, Ravens, right? So let's do. I can just do this on my phone. I don't know why I pulled it.
I mean, it's not crazy to think. I mean, Cleveland does have some talent, and how much better could Deshaun Watson make the Browns? I mean, it's at least possible. There's enough games left on the schedule for it to happen, but unlikely, very unlikely.
Mm-hmm. So let's do. So we have the Jets obviously sitting at 6-3, Kyle. So do you want to just both do it, or do you want to go different times to make it a little bit easier?
Let's do both. I think we'll pretty much be in agreement for most games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Patriots.
We'll say Jets win.
Jets win 7-3. Bears. Jets win 8-3. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got for Vikings?
Let's say Vikings.
Vikings. Okay. Agree. 8-4. At Bills.
Let's say a loss. 8-5.
8-5. Agreed. Lions.
Win.
9-5. Jaguars.
Let's say. Is it the Jaguars? Yeah, let's say Jets
Jaguars.
win.
So that's is Is that 10? No, that's 10 wins right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 10 wins right there.
Mhm.
At Seahawks. Give me the dub. 11 wins.
Okay, fine. I listen. I still am not a believer in Geno Smith yet. Okay.
Give me the dub. I think they're better. I think they can control the trenches in that game. You know, I think the Seahawks have some skill, some talent, skill positions, but I think the Jets win that game. At Dolphins, you know,
Let's say Dolphins.
I'm gonna give it to the Dolphins. So 11 wins
Their
for the Jets.
their offense, man, it is good. Mike McDaniel looks like they got a good coach. Hate to say it, but he does look like a good one.
Okay, so 11 wins for the Jets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bengals schedule. The Bengals are what? They are 5-4. So we're starting from 5-4 with the Bengals, Kyle. I think there's a bye. There's not a bye week in here somewhere. This week, Bengals at Steelers.
Let's say Bengals.
Bengals. Okay, so 6-4. Bengals at Titans.
They did win there last year in the playoffs, but we'll give it to the Titans at home.
I'm giving it to the Bengals. I'm gonna give it to the Bengals on the road.
Okay, I won't argue with you. I think they're a more talented team.
Okay, so much beat ingredients there. So we're having the Bengals at what? That's 7-4 right now. Then Bengals at home against the Chiefs.
We're gonna say the Chiefs, although the Bengals did beat them twice last year.
Chiefs 7-5. I need that for my well-being.
Yeah.
Bengals home against the Browns.
Bengals home against the Browns. We'll say Bengals.
Yep. So what is that? That's
8-5.
5-4. Okay, so 8-5. Okay, good. You have that. Bengals at Bucks.
Oh shit. We got to be rooting hard for Brady in this one. Fuck. Let's say, hey, listen, Tom Brady late in the season, Bucks start to get a little bit healthier, a little bit more chemistry. Let's say Bucks. What do you think?
I'm saying Bengals. We can have different schedules here. But I'm gonna say the Bengals.
I won't fight with you.
Not gonna fight with me. Make it easy.
9-5.
9-5. Bengals at Pats. Want to give it to the Bengals?
Sadly, yes. Okay.
Yep. So 10-5. Bengals at home against the Bills. We'll give it to the Bills.
Yeah.
Bengals at home against the Ravens, which could be for the division right there. At home against the Ravens. They're 10. What would we say?
They put up a lot of points against the Ravens
10-6
last
right
year,
now?
man. Yeah. They're 10-6 right now. They put up a lot of points against the Ravens last year. And they are home.
I'm giving it to the Bengals.
Okay. That's same
11
record.
6.
11-6. That means the Bengals will have the tiebreaker over the Jets.
Okay, let's do a couple more quickly. Chargers schedule. So we'd be what, the 6th seed right now, right? 6th seed with how that plays out. We have the Chargers who are sitting at 5-4 as well. So the games that they have to play out are home against the Chiefs. We're gonna give that to the Chiefs, especially with the Chargers having all the injuries they have right now.
Yep. Okay. 5-5 for the Chargers.
5-5. Chargers at Cardinals. 6-5.
Yes.
Chargers at Raiders. 7-5.
Yeah, the Raiders look like dog shit.
Hosting the Dolphins.
We're gonna say the Dolphins.
7-6. At home against the Titans.
Home against the Titans. This one's tough. What do you got with?
It gives it to the Chargers. They get healthy.
Okay. 8-6 for the Chargers.
Yeah. Chargers on the road against the Colts. 9-6.
Yeah. Colts, I don't think are very good, unfortunately.
At home against the Rams. 10-6.
The Rams don't look good this year, but
No, they do not. The Chargers are known to blow a random game here, though.
Let's go with the Rams. Let's go with the Rams.
Really? Okay. And that
Stafford gets healthy. Listen, McVay is one. He's had a winning record every year with the Rams. Right.
That could be a TBD, but yeah, okay. And then the Broncos. I'm on the road.
We'll give them the Broncos win.
We'll give them the Broncos win. So they're 10-6, 10-7,
10-7,
and hopefully we have a better division. That's a close one. Okay, so you have them. I'm assuming. Do you want to just
against the Chargers? It wouldn't be division; it'd be conference record.
Yeah.
Okay, so
do you want to just assume the Dolphins are going to be? I don't know if I want to go through the Dolphins as well.
We'll assume they're in the playoffs, man. They already got 7 wins, right?
Yeah.
And they're clicking on all cylinders. So we'll say Dolphins in the playoffs.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
But the thing
Pats-
is we do have the tiebreaker over them currently. So if we could win that game against the Dolphins, even if we had the same record as them, we would get the higher seed than them.
so we have the Pats at 5-4, right? We
Okay, yeah, let's do Pats.
Yeah, Pats lost against the Jets 5-5.
Okay.
At the Vikings,
Say
lost
Vikings, yeah.
5-6. Hosting the Bills 5-7.
Yep.
At Cardinals 6-7.
Yep.
At Raiders 7-7.
Yeah.
Hosting the Bengals, I think we gave that to the Bengals, right?
Yeah. 7
so
and 8.
7-8. Home against the Dolphins 7-9.
Dolphin sweep over the Patriots.
Fuck them. Fuck the Pats.
Okay.
And at Bills 7-10. At
Yeah.
best, maybe
I don't think
9
I don't
wins.
think they're going to be 7 and 10.
I don't
think so.
Okay, give them 2 wins. Fine. Give them another win. They're not making the playoffs. That's kind of how I see that playing out. That's what we're talking about the Pats.
Yeah, I think 8 and 9 is pretty realistic for them, but
Okay.
7 and 10, yeah.
And maybe the Ravens schedule, who could be competing with the whatever it's called. The Ravens are now what are they? The record is 6-3, so they're starting from a little bit ahead here.
With
So
tiebreaker over the
6-3
Jets.
with a tiebreaker over the Jets. Phew. Okay, so hosting Panthers 7-3, at the Jags 8-3,
Okay.
hosting the Broncos 9-3,
Jeez.
on the road against the Steelers 10-3, on the road against the Browns. Let's give them a loss there. Fine,
Okay.
10-4 because Deshaun Watson will be back. Whatever.
Yeah.
Hosting the Falcons 11-4.
Mm-hmm.
Home
The
against
Raven
the Steelers.
and the Ravens are one of those teams that they'll win the games they're supposed to win.
Yeah,
Right. John
hosting
Harbaugh, anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. I know we're running a little bit fast here, but that's for a reason.
11-4 right now.
11-4, so hosting the Steelers, so 12-4. And then we said
Sure.
in Cincy, so that's going to be 12-5.
Okay.
So with that, Kyle, the Jets would be what? You have them.
Is that the last seed? Okay, so we're expecting the Bills to win the division. So we'll give the Bills the division. All right. So the Bengals will have the tiebreaker. So so Ravens win the division. So that means that the Bengals and the Jets are competing for a wild card spot. They have the same record. The Bengals have the tiebreaker over the Jets, being that they have the head-to-head win. The Jets are seeded over the Chargers, though. Chargers were 10-7. So,
But with an iffy game, that could be 11-6. So this is what we're talking about. Like, does 10 wins get us in? Like with what we just did with the schedules?
yeah, no,
We
need to try to get 11. And
let's get 11.
Even with 11, it's very, very, very good chance you get in. But is it
Now what
guaranteed?
is the Chargers conference record? Do they win those games? They're known to lose some games. So if I
Yeah,
had
so
to
they
bet,
did.
they
They did have a loss to the 49ers. Thank you, 49ers. But again, losing outside your conference is a little bit better for making the playoffs. So
we're big Chiefs fans. Going forward, we're big everybody else in the AFC West. But so 10
Raiders
wins
fans,
could.
your boy Derek Carr. We got to root for him.
So I really don't see any other team. So listen, at the end of the day, we're competing with what I think is obviously the Chargers, the Bengals, the Ravens, all those teams. But the Bengals have a soft schedule. We're assuming the Ravens are in there, pretty soft schedule. The Bengals pretty soft schedule. I think I already said that twice. Dolphins are pretty much already locked. So we really need to root against the Chargers, and we really need to try to win at least 11 games. If it's 10, hopefully the better conference record than the Chargers, but it's gonna be close. So people saying like at first it was like 9 wins, maybe 9 wins not getting in. I really doubt it. So 10 wins, I would say.
If the Jets go 3 and 5 down the stretch, they don't deserve to make the playoffs.
No. So, but 4-4, people are like, oh yeah, that gets us in the playoffs. Does it? What if the Chargers go 11 and 6? Obviously, they're getting some guys back, hopefully soon, or not hopefully soon. That's gonna be close because we said 10 and 7, but with a very iffy game, loss against the Rams could happen, sure. But if right now you'd bet Chargers or Rams, I'm betting on the Chargers, especially later in the season when they get healthy. So,
Oh shit! I even forgot that Cooper Kupp, he's done for the year, right?
Is he done for the year?
He's getting surgery, high ankle sprain.
Oh, okay. So 11 wins, so the Jets got to win. This Pats game is important. Is very important because we talk about teams like the Bengals, there's still plenty of good teams who can get 11 wins. So it's crazy. Past that, Kyle, we can do this quickly because I only have a couple minutes. The Pats game, our fears have not been solidified, or my fears have not been solidified. The Jets are wearing white on black this game,
Nice.
which we are undefeated in, right?
Undefeated. Well,
yeah, no, we're 4-0.
This year. No, we were last year against the Colts.
No, I'm talking about this year.
Okay,
I'm talking about this year.
Just saying.
We have 6 wins. What wins did we get that weren't in those jerseys? Did we get any wins that weren't in those jerseys?
Well, what about our
Browns?
Cleveland win? Our
Browns
Cleveland
was
win,
white
yeah.
on white. White on white. Did we win all the other? The Packers was white on
I think
black.
all the other wins were white on black. Yeah, I think so.
So one game, not in all white on black. So, I maybe Bill Belichick is not trying to hide from us, and he's trying to completely kill our confidence. White on black, beat us like that, Jesus! But knock on wood from Rusty. Undefeated on the road, undefeated on white on black. So let's hope it continues. I'll continue knocking on wood. So with this Pats game, Kyle, I guess we don't have to really go over the roster and all that stuff. The only things that we're going to have to look out for, we already went over it. David Andrews is healthy. He wasn't last game. Barmore was limited though. He's been limited a lot, so I don't think it's a lock that he plays.
Okay.
So watch Barmore, and I think Duggar is the other one who was not playing for them and who is back. Right.
Good player.
So, Kyle, quick thoughts on the game, and then we'll do score questions after. But what are your thoughts overall on this game?
Okay, so obviously, Zach Wilson, he can't try to play hero ball in this game. It did not work well for him last time. He needs to be much more decisive. Trust his eyes. Listen, if you make a mistake early, shit happens sometimes, but you can't make a mistake late, especially against a Bill Belichick defense, especially with a ball hawk like Devin McCourty, right? So if you're going to make a mistake, you make it early. Don't make it late. Belichick's going to stack the box. He's going to want to take away the run from the Jets. And he's going to make Zach Wilson want to throw the ball. So, Zach's going to have to do his thing. We talked about earlier, getting players into space. Listen, you got guys who can make guys miss in space, right? Like, Berrios can make guys miss in space. Obviously, Garrett Wilson can. Elijah Moore, we know he can as well. We got to find some way to get him involved in the game. Last live stream, I said, listen, Elijah Moore, they got to find ways to get him on more crossing routes, overs, even run him on some drag routes every now and then, more dig routes, run him on a stick concept, find quicker passing concepts, He's so good at transitioning from catch to run. They got to find a way to get him involved in the offense more. I'm sorry, if you're giving a decent amount of carries to James Robinson, I know he showed up good in that final drive against the Bills. That's not a winning business model to keep giving James Robinson the rock. I know I like Michael Carter too, but he's not Breece Hall. Let's see. In terms of New England, so the Jets did quite a good job protecting the quarterback from Myles Garrett when they played New England. I think you have to have a similar, although he's not nearly the athlete that Myles Garrett is, but I think you need to have a similar type of game plan with Judon, because Judon is the only guy as a pass rusher that really scares me with the Patriots. I know the Patriots are very good at getting pressure off of stunts, but in terms of just a straight man rush, Judon's the only one that you really worry about. And he's playing like, an elite level edge rusher this year.
Yeah. Pretty much agree with everything you said. Like I said before, get more end arounds, get more jet sweeps, attack the perimeter of the Pats defense, make the linebackers tackle in space, more RPOs, more quick stuff than last time for the Jets. Again with Zach Wilson, you're hoping that obviously if Zach Wilson does struggle early, it doesn't snowball like it typically does with him. He's streaky, whether he's hot or cold. He's streaky, so you need to be able to break out of a cold streak if he hits one first, second, third quarter, whatever it may be. Take care of the ball, trust his eyes, be confident in the pocket. Like you said with Judon, chip him. I'm not really scared of anybody else, but consistently chip him. I'm not saying every single play, but you gotta throw a lot of chips at him, at least 50% of the time. When he's obviously going to be like isolated. So that's pretty much it. To be obviously we're really condensed with that. Just because that's how it work. But Kyle, what is your final score prediction?
It's going to be close. I don't see the Jets winning a blowout. How much points do they put up in New England? I'll say 20-17. Similar score to last time. 2017.
20s. And by the way, with the schedules, we didn't even do the Bills, but I guess we're just assuming the Bills finish at 12 and 5.
They're a Super Bowl favorite. We'll keep it that way.
Until the Jets go into Buffalo and beat their ass again.
If they sweep the Bills this year, oh my God, dude.
Can you imagine? You get swept by the Patriots, but you sweep the Bills. Like, okay, I found that. Split with the Dolphins. Somebody
No,
asked
fuck it. I don't want to get swept by the Patriots.
I think somebody's no. I rather lose in Buffalo and take the Pats game for sure. I just want the Pats to have that over us. But somebody asked if I was going to Buffalo. I think earlier in the chat, definitely not. Playoff game, maybe. But I'm not going. I'm definitely
Playoff
not
game, I'm
there.
going to Buffalo. If they have a playoff game, Buffalo, I'm going.
Yeah, I would. So my score prediction: Jets lost 23-17 last time on the road. Bye week. Bill Belichick. Fuck it. 27 Jets. Patriots 13. Beat him by 2 touchdowns.
We were picking last time, Joe. We picked the Jets to beat the Patriots convincingly, and that didn't happen. But dude, Mac Jones, they can say the same about Zach Wilson. Mac Jones looked like dog shit though. So
I'm putting it into the ether. The Jets are going to be 7-3, walking out of New England with a lot of Pats fans sad, going to get their chowder. It's 27-13. We get to freaking talk mad shit next week. Go over a fun film review. Go into Chicago week at 7-3, 8-3 after that. Playing with house money on the road and the Vikings. Let's get over the hump here. I'm excited.
By the way, how enjoyable was it to hear how many Patriots fans who were at that game said, "I'm actually a Zappy guy." There's a lot of Patriots fans that don't believe in Mac Jones.
Yeah, there was. But Jets are going to continue to 5-0 on the road and 6-0 in white and black. Kyle, any last words?
No, it was fun, and football's great, especially when the Jets are winning. I would say just listen. Joe's putting out, and he said three film reviews, right? Yeah, he wasn't resting on the bye week. Joe Blewett wasn't resting on the bye week. He was putting out mid-season reviews. Check them out by subscribing to the website jetsxfactor.com. Free month.
Yeah, would appreciate that. They're coming out post-season though. They're coming out after the season. I was prepping them, so I had to watch the Jets season or those 3 players. I watched that's 27 games or something like that. So I was not just relaxing. Nonetheless, we will see you guys next Thursday at 6 p.m. Holding that W, Kyle. So very